What is up, guys? Welcome back. You know what fucking time it is. You know, we have been talking about this shit for months, and it finally came. And I have seen it multiple times. And Vista here has as well. We're just throwing out nicknames from him just to see what works here. But we came up with Vista. Hopefully you guys like it. I like it. So, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing good today, man. I'm just excited to talk about this fucking movie, man. I mean,
yeah,
this new movie, this Sam Raimi movie, man.
Sam Raimi,
you know, it happened, and it's finally here.
9 years he's been out of the game. I don't know. 8 years.
Yeah. When did that movie come out? Drag Me to Hell.
Well, Drag Me to Hell. I think it was 2009, and I think his last film was The Oz, The Great and Powerful.
Oh, that's right. You're right, dude.
Which makes sense of how he works with Disney a little bit. So I think that's almost like a little connection, maybe.
Excuse me, guys.
To work back with Marvel.
That's true. You know, I forgot about the Oz movie. You did mention that last time.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm so sorry. Something's going on here. But anyways, don't worry. I'm healthy. So if you think I have something else, no, we're good. But we're fucking here, man. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Woo! So, I mean, before we get into that, though, there's a lot of things that are coming out right now. There's a lot of other stuff and news we'd like to share with you guys. We would like to pregame this episode today, okay? This is going to be an ongoing thing we're going to do, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. We think you're going to enjoy it. So, before we get into Doctor Strange, let's talk about some news here. What do we got? Comic book news, right? What's the latest thing?
Well, She-Hulk trailer just dropped yesterday.
Right. All right. And that trailer, you know what? I have to admit, I only saw it once, and I should have fucking saw it on the way here, but I was just too busy thinking about it in my head because I was just really digging the vibe of this trailer. You know, because at the end of the day, it felt like this, like, I used to have this Hulk toy back in the day, and I remember it used to be badass, okay? It wasn't a She-Hulk toy, it was Hulk, and it was cool, man. I'm talking about 90s toy. And for some reason, when I saw their logo, the way they changed it, it looked like an 80s like logo with the crazy font they use on the She name. You know what I mean? It kind of had that retro feel. You know, and looking at her and the way they filmed it, and then like the way they're just like Hulk, you know, and just seeing a new She-Hulk, she actually looks really good. And for some reason, I just had really good vibes about this show. And, excuse me, everyone, sorry. After, like I mentioned to you earlier, before we got into Doctor Strange, guys, I told Vista here, I was like, you know what, dude, I haven't been this excited since the first Iron Man. And to be honest with you, we won't share our thoughts just yet, but I mean, it was great, I was just say. And then watching this trailer, you know, I have really good vibes about it. And usually when I get good vibes, that means I would say no ego here, guys, nothing like that. It's just something, just, you know, just gotta throw out there, you know. It just happens, you know. That means it is going to be good, and I have faith in it when I feel good about a show, which means every time it does release, I enjoy it. But we'll go into details in just a minute. But I want to hear yours as well, Vista. What did you think about this trailer?
You know, part of me is like, oh, fun, but also part of me is like, I'm not surprised it went the way it is. It just had like, you know what, that's what the MCU does. They have this way of like, oh, is that going to be cheesy? But then when they get to it, it kind of acknowledges it as a comedy at times. You're like, okay, so they're having fun. They're really trying to be playful with it. Because there are times I'm like, can that really work? Because there are times I'm like, ooh, is that gonna be good? Is that too much? Or because like they're known for doing this like, you know, balancing of, you know, sincere comic book adventure but kind of wacky comedy. You know, the MCU does that. So I think maybe that, you know, that's kind of their flavor. So from the trailer, I feel like I kind of expected it kind of going there. But I was so happy to see like little things like, oh, Mark Ruffalo, like, oh, cool. So they are trying to connect it to because we haven't seen him since the last Avengers movie. So I'm kind of excited. Okay, what's the link to this show?
Right.
And the other thing, fan side of me is excited because she's a lawyer. So the possibilities of seeing Matt Murdock, you know.
Oh my God, yes.
It'd be cool.
Imagine. And I think I heard too something a long time ago that was going to happen. That we're going to see Matt Murdock in this.
Yeah.
Because Attorney at Law just only makes sense. No Way Home. Saw him here. You know, it's the year of Murdock, bro. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's Murdock madness. You know, Doctor Strange and the Murdock madness. You know, some shit like that. You know. But that's going to be great because when we see him in there, just going to confirm. And guess who else might be a private investigator if she needs one? And she does. And she's a superhero too. Miss Jessica Jones, who I am very anticipated in joining the MCU because she's already hinted she is coming back, and she's coming, and she already confirmed pretty much that we'll be seeing her again. And that was a recent post, I think, sometime this year or late last year, at the end of last year. But it just happened on Kristen Ritter. She did to make some kind of a statement. I think it was on her social media, guys. Can't recall, but yeah. So she's coming in.
So like, I have a feeling like the fact that she's confirmed to come to the MCU makes sense for her to show up in She-Hulk because her strength and her power, her toughness, her vibe, it kind of fits. It just kind of fits that tone. So I don't know. I would like for her to show up in She-Hulk.
Yeah, and she's a private investigator. So what happens if she's like, look, if Jessica is like, oh shit, am I forgetting her name? God damn it. You know, but what I'm trying to say here is like, what happens if she has to send Jessica Jones on like some kind of investigation? You know what I mean? I mean, and you know what's crazy too? Tim Roth back as Abomination. He transformed.
I forgot to mention that. That's like, fuck. Where has he been? You know, where has he been hiding in that tube? That fucking, you know, because people were saying, oh, that's not him, and Shang-Chi, but now they're saying, no, that is him with Wong, because Wong's apparently supposed to be in the show too. So that also furthers this MCU universe. Like, okay, so you're building another bridge to something.
Right.
The fact that Wong shows up, that means something important is going to happen in the show.
Right. So. And that's what's funny is because imagine, well, we'll get into that later. I had a thought right now about Doctor Strange, but but that was awesome because seeing Tim Roth, he still looks good, man. Yeah, he still looks good after all these years. It's been 14 years.
He's aged well.
You know, since the most underrated MCU movie of all time has come out.
Agreed.
And it's a if you and people that are complaining about the Hulk and shit, you know, it's like, come on. 2008 Hulk, what was wrong with that? That had awesome fight scenes, good action, a really intense, dramatic Hulk, you know what I mean? You know, it wasn't too... I liked his tone, even of his skin color. It wasn't too green. Yeah. You know, it had this, like, kind of dark tone to it. The dark green, can I let you know that this Hulk does not fuck around.
Yeah, and, you know, and I think that movie, I'm shocked because it had the same kind of tone of what Iron Man was doing also, you know. It was this grounded comic book movie. They were trying to ground the Hulk, and I felt like that's the most grounded we'll ever see of the Hulk in an iteration so far. I just have that feeling that's going to still be the most grounded one down the road, and unless they get someone to really like do a masterful Hulk movie, which I would love that. I want another good Hulk movie. I want that same energy.
Yeah,
you know, bring back that vibe. You know, and even I mean, we all moved on. I mean, it was cool that Edward Norton was the Hulk, and then it just sucks that like, man, he got recasted. I remember that being a big deal back then.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a missed opportunity. You know, but you never know. This is the multiverse now. And now we're getting to the timelines. You know, things may have passed, maybe not, but, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, if fucking Terrence Howard hasn't came back, then that should tell you something.
I know.
But Don Cheadle's obviously in the role, so, I mean, you know, they're like, why would they change back? You know, come on now. But anyways, but yes, the She-Hulk trailer does look quite good. On my opinions on it, so to share my final thoughts, I would definitely say that I'm actually excited for it. I actually been thinking about it, and I even just checking out the logo. I love that fucking like 80s style thing they're going. I got this Baywatch kind of font going on, you know, like, you know, it's going to be like that kind of retro fun, you know, it kind of, you know, thinking about it now, some of the shots they have like during the day kind of reminded me like The Mask sometimes, you know, like, you know, some of that dramatic, you know, love thing, you know, it's kind of, he was an accountant, but she's like a lawyer and she gets his power, transfusion. It's got, it's got that cool vibe like that. Exactly what I was saying about
summertime, summer show.
Yeah, like with like that memory I had that I was sharing with you guys in the beginning. So I'm actually excited for this, you know, and it's cool to be excited for something after Thor comes out. You know what I mean? And this is coming out what, in August?
I think so. I mean, see the date.
All right, you know, we're looking up the date here, guys, but anyways, I would definitely say I'm looking forward to this, and it does look like August 17th. August 17th. So we have about 3 months, guys. Exactly 3 months.
Summer show. Right?
Perfect. Perfect summer show. And then after that, hey, we got some other cool shit bringing up because you know, we got Werewolf by Night, the Halloween special with Gael Garcia Bernal. You know, and he's gonna be that's gonna definitely be a tie-in with Moon Knight because that's where Moon Knight showed up in Werewolf by Night.
He's a great actor.
You know,
that guy.
Yeah, he's a great actor. I fucking like that guy, man. He's cool
underrated,
looking. You know? He's very underrated. Definitely for sure. Like his counterpart, fucking what's his name? I forgot his name. But his counterpart in that old movie, remember, where they're like best friends and they have that affair with that Spanish woman. Yeah, something Itu or También or something
Alfonso,
like that. Yeah, Itu.
Great movie.
Great movie. Yeah, both that other actor, he was in Rogue
Diego
One.
Luna.
Yeah, Diego Luna, that's his
He's
name.
getting his own show on Rogue One.
Holy shit. There we go. And, he looks like, fucking Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Get the Latins in there, bro. Throw some salsa on those chips, baby.
Which I'm happy. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Really
but it does look good, guys. What are your final thoughts on She-Hulk?
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I'm really like, I'm just becoming so neutral these days because sometimes I get so excited, and sometimes I'm like, okay, is it gonna be that good? I actually just restrain myself sometimes with some of these shows and movies these days because I feel like there's a lot of hype, and I'm like, all right, let me just go on my own expectations, And my same goes for their other show recently, Moon Knight. Which we won't have to delve in too much into because I know you haven't fully watched it. You said, right? You haven't really watched the entire show. Or,
not really, but it's just like I just my thoughts on it, guys. It's just I didn't know how to feel about it. It didn't grab me, and I didn't finish all the episodes. I turned it on, and I saw the most important parts, and that was it. I feel like this is a series that you can watch just the important parts of each episode, and you could just fill in the rest with your imagination, and probably 95% of your imagination is probably correct of how it went down. That's how I explain this show. And even though I know they were trying to do something different with the horror and get into the medical aspect of these people and try to get into a real psyche of a superhero, really going through it, it could have been executed better. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny because I told Vista here that I don't even know if it's like, I didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't feel good about it, nor did I feel bad about it. It really was a neutral feeling. Mm-hmm. I was just like, okay, let's see what happens, and that's it. I didn't like it or love it, or I didn't like it or hate it. It was just right in the middle. Yeah. And as the shows went on, it was cool, but nothing exciting. I even the other people I met recently, just like mentioned that it wasn't like it was their number one show. They think it's probably the best MCU show or one of the best. I'm like, that's cool. You know what I mean? I can see why. And I get why the show started the way it did, how fast it did. I get it because you're a man who has, this disassociative, identity disorder. You know what I mean? And it's like taking over him, and that's what happens all the time. Oh, you just get jumped into a new memory. You get jumped into a new, okay, what the fuck? So I think that's great, but I think they just couldn't find the tone. I couldn't, and I think that's why I was so jumping everywhere, And they introduced Mr. Knight way too early. I thought they ruined that whole arc of Mr. Knight. I thought they were going to save that to the end. Like, he becomes Moon Knight for a while, but then he, like, lives up and he finally accepts himself. And then he just, like, comes out and you see him come out the building as Mr. Knight. And then he ends the season there. And then in season 2, which they now confirmed, then you could have followed up with Mr. Knight and the suit. Then, when he really has to, when he gets maybe messed up or something happens, then he can change back to his, like, original Egyptian Khonshu, given suit. But, so I really wasn't interested, guys, and it's true. I really didn't finish full episodes a lot. And I just got the main gist of it. I found out the ends. I knew it. And I just was like, really, that's it, Like, I could have watched it, but I don't think it was that great. And I don't think I think the love interest either, I didn't think they had that chemistry. It was so fast. Like, oh, you have to just connect with them right away. Hurry up, you know what I mean? They're going through it because he has a disorder, and she's barely finding out about it, So it's just kind of like, okay, that's fine, you know what I mean? And that's my thoughts on it. I mean, of course I'll finish it, obviously, sometime soon, maybe later, we'll see. You know what I mean? But I feel like right now, it wasn't much of something that I was hoping to be very interested in. And I was hoping the action was be a little bit more. Even though we were concentrating on the psychosis of this character, I was hoping for a little bit more action, better choreography. I noticed in these shows, the choreography is getting a little sloppy. And I am not liking it. Coming from an action guy myself that loves that shit and has done some fighting in my life, nothing too credential, nothing like that, guys, trust me. But, but also being grown up around it, I can tell, Marvel, I just got to say this, MCU, you need to take this to heart right now, okay? You guys need to get that action choreography down. Don't cheap up on that, okay? You really need to fucking listen to this. This is me coming, and we're going to get into a beautiful moment in Doctor Strange where I saw some beautiful action choreography, and it felt very refreshing to see that. But that was my thoughts. What do you think? I'm sorry.
Oh no! I wanted to hear what you thought.
I had to. Those were my thoughts, man. I'm glad we got to that because I needed to release that.
Yeah,
but
because I remember you were like beyond pumped, like almost as pumped as you were for Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I was
like
almost
that hyped.
pumped.
You're always bouncing around. 1 minute on Multiverse, and 1 minute you go, oh, Moon Knight. It's like, oh shit! I'm like, that's right, it's coming out.
It's coming out.
And I remember the date because you kept telling me about it, so that's how I watched the show. Because you're the one that actually reminded me so much about it, and I was excited too. But again, how I am lately, I'm just so neutral with things now. So like, if it comes out, I'll watch
we get it.
You know, even Star Wars for me, which I don't want to delve into that. Like even their new shows, I'm kind of like, oh, I'll watch it. I'm not as excited as I used to be. I'm just maybe I'm just becoming an old grumpy asshole now. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but you know, just I feel like but
what about the show?
But with Moon Knight, that's why I just feel like I had no real anticipation, and I watched it. I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
it was okay.
Yeah,
it wasn't. But I see why people love it. And it's got that,
Did you see the full episodes all the way through?
I did my best. Maybe I snoozed in between in some parts, but still kind of carried forward as what you said. Because if you fell asleep, you understood where it went. Still.
Yeah, right. It felt like that.
The last couple ones were like that, especially when I dozed off. I could just even hear when I'm sleeping. And I'm like, okay, it's just
whatever.
The movie's just going.
Yeah,
it's so straightforward. You're like, you know where it's going.
Yeah.
And there was some okay stuff. And
Low-key.
Yeah. And, he's a great actor. And it's good to see, it's a good challenge for him to play different characters and really, like, try to blend that together. And there were some fun bits, I'll admit, with him and himself back and forth. There were some moments like, oh, that's fun. That's some fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for him, that's, like, a good opportunity to be playful, get more natural, fun performances.
Right.
It was fine. But... Again, I didn't love it. I didn't love the show. I just thought there were times I'm like, okay, that was it. That was the payoff. I got to those.
This is where all that Midnight Suns thing comes in. And that's where I think that I'm starting to think about it. They really wanted to do Moon Knight well.
Yeah.
But I think it could have been executed better. And I agree with what you said. It was okay. I was hoping it would be better.
Yeah.
I don't think I was hyped, but I don't think I was that hype. Like you're mentioning, but I do remember being pumped for it at least somewhat because I was like, okay, great. Let's see if they're really correct because Kevin Feige made a statement saying, "Oh, this is where we actually, you think we're gonna cheap up on this? No, this is Moon Knight." You know what I mean? I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Okay."
Yeah.
I had some expectations to keep low, and I was like, "All right, let's see what happens." And it was cool seeing some blood, but it kind of felt like it was just thrown at you, like, "Oh, here it is." Here it is, guys. Here's that gore you wanted. It's just his hand's so bloody. Oh, my God. Oh, wow, they really did it. Oh, my God. And then first episodes, I see some of these reactors on YouTube, even some of the ones I follow, and I'm just like, oh, my God, that was amazing. Like, I'm like, oh, my God, that's great. They really did it. And they're all getting hype. I'm like, that just felt like a throwaway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of just one of those things like that. So, Moon Knight could have been better. Hopefully, season 2, they do a lot better because now it's confirmed. And, I am hoping for the best for this show. But yeah, I mean that's my thoughts, and I think we should, it's great. We should move on.
Last thing, we should just mail him a tripod. Just stop shaking the camera.
Yeah,
but still, just like get it. Like let's enjoy these actors playing it out because I get disoriented with some parts of the show.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's just I don't know. They were just like keeping that same exact, just like everything just felt so. But I guess they were trying to balance that tone of him being this, the DID stuff.
Yeah.
Switching personalities. But it just felt like, no, you don't have to do it that much. Just tone down a bit,
Yeah,
that's my only...
Yeah, and I think they should have just calmed down with Steven. I know that was a break-in to the character, but Steven should have just taken a backseat more. And he kept coming in fight moments. I'm like, why are you having his other persona come in at this awesome fighting moment? Don't be doing that. And that was some writing issues, and that's why the show, we are going to give it, guys, an okay. It's just an okay, guys. That's just coming from us, and But anyways, what else we got, man?
All right.
Before we get into the main course here.
Well, this is some little breadcrumb appetizers. So let's talk about, we gotta do a retrospective on this. Such big, iconic movies, comic book movies.
Yeah.
That has made such an impact that has led us to where we are today.
Yeah.
The movie we're talking about. So 20 years ago, we have Sam Raimi's first Marvel movie, Spider-Man.
I know.
2002. 20 years.
Woo! The 20 years, guys.
Can
You believe that shit? And you know what? Wow, that made me happy thinking about that. Because I was able to snag tickets at New Beverly over here, guys. And fucking... And, you know, and it's going to be fun. And, you know, I want the homie here, Vista, to come.
I will make my way.
But we're gonna make it work because, I mean, at the end of the day, I bought him right away. I mean, Spider-Man, 20 years of Sam Raimi, and he releases a Marvel movie in the MCU, and it's like a Sam Raimi year, and I love it, and I fucking love it, you know.
And theater acknowledges it too,
and I acknowledge it too, and Sam Raimi did such a good job, and you know what? And I have to admit, guys, when I went to go see my second showing, seeing him in person on stage was quite amazing. I mean, Kevin Feige was there introducing them, and it was just like, I was running fucking late, okay? I was sweating balls, all right? I went to go find a dark spot to go dry my face. Yes, I know, gross. And then I heard a voice, and it sounded like someone familiar. And unfortunately, the homie here wasn't with me. You know, it would have been great, but unfortunately, we were seeing the movie at different times that day. You know, so we had other plans that day for the second showing for us. So, but when I saw it, it was, oh my god, and it was exactly what we're talking about now. Those 20 years just came back to me. Seeing him in person, my favorite directors, along with yours as well. You know what I mean? Comes in and just fucking starts talking about his new Doctor Strange movie that's pretty much introducing the multiverse to the MCU. You know, and seeing Danny Elfman there, amazing. Oh man, it was amazing. It was just, I wish you were there, man, because it was just a beautiful moment, and I know it could have been more beautiful if you were there. But it was just so great seeing them, and it was my childhood coming back to me, bro. And seeing Kevin Feige there, just like this guy right here, you know, just seeing him, you know. You would think I'd be more excited. Don't get me wrong, I was excited, but just seeing, I was like, wow, this is crazy. It was just like, I think I was rushing at the same time, so I was just trying to catch up on breath, and I was trying to catch up on my breath from what I was seeing with my fucking eyes. And seeing Kevin Feige there was just like the man that's been bringing all this together for the past 15 years almost, you know. And to go back to Spider-Man 1, that is my favorite. They're all cool in their own way. You know, I know people have been hyping up the Spider-Man 3 too, which we'll get into, but Spider-Man 1 is my favorite out of the Raimi trilogy. It is raw. It is brutal. It is Spider-Man. It is emotional building perfectly to me, you know. I mean, Sam Raimi just hit it out of the ballpark, and I think that's one of his greatest works is that movie right there. And we just wanted to mention that today and celebrate Spider-Man by Sam Raimi that came out in 2002. So I'd like to thank everyone for that, because that, you know, Sam Raimi is the one, you know what I mean? He's the guy that brought us our childhood, and it's a great film overall. I really do think it's like a film cinema thing, you know what I mean? It really is. I think it lands in there, you know, but I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I know this meant a lot to you as well.
Oh yeah, man! I remember seeing this in theaters. I only saw it once.
I saw it twice in theaters when I was a kid. Yeah, man, it was great.
And I remember just being blown away, because I remember just that era. I was only 10, and the only other movies that blew me away, other than that, previously, were Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And this was another new edge where it's like, oh, you're finally bringing this to life. You're actually like doing your best effort to be like, all right, we have the technology to finally make Spider-Man come to life. And it's just, I remember as a landmark, because I remember seeing the teasers back then, the infamous 9/11 trailer, where he catches the thieves,
the helicopter
between the towers. I remember, seeing that in theaters as a kid and being like, whoa, that's crazy. And then I remember being blown away seeing that guy from Pleasantville being Spider-Man. I'm like, oh shit, so it's a legit live action movie. I remember being like blown away. And I remember just that movie made such an impact, because I remember forcing my parents to pre-order that DVD at Blockbuster. And I remember just like, it's just good times. I watched it so many times growing up. And that's just one you have to thank, though, because that made such a landmark in the comic book movie history. It really did pave the path, But, I know the one before that was big, and the other one before was Blade, but then X-Men was big before.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was the appetizer to this Spider-Man movie, because I like that too, but it wasn't as groundbreaking as Spider-Man for some reason, but I still liked it. X-Men's awesome, and we'll get into that, because I have some nostalgia I'll get into.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I agree, man, and, we were blessed to see it in theaters like that.
Yeah.
We saw actual film superhero cinema before our eyes, and it was when we were young in our sweetest spots in our lives where everything was great around us, you know. And Spider-Man means a lot, and we would just want to say here, if he ever listens to this, but how much Sam Raimi means a lot to us.
Yeah.
We just want to thank you, Mr. Raimi, because you are the man, and I can't wait to talk about Doctor Strange. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we just wanted to celebrate Spider-Man 1. So happy anniversary, Spider-Man 1. All right, and thank you to the cast. Okay, Toby, Kirsten, Willem, James Franco, you know, everyone else on there, you know, thank you so much. And J. Jonah Jameson, our homie, freaking J.K. Simmons, and then his brother, you know, his brother, I think it was like Ivan Raimi or something like that.
Ted Raimi?
Yeah, Ted Raimi. Ted Raimi, there you go, bro. Yeah, Betty Brant, Miss Elizabeth, Elizabeth Banks.
I always forget.
Yeah, Elizabeth Banks. Oh my God, it's great. It's just great. It's just great, man. And but yes, happy anniversary. What else we got, man?
Especially like we keep this, you know, not too long. But 5 years later, then 15th anniversary now of Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi, which, you know, that's, you know, like I agree with you. I think the first one is still the best, and I think that one still flows the best in rewatching.
Yeah.
You know? And don't get me wrong, Spider-Man 2 is great too. You know, but maybe by a couple hairstrings, I would say the first one I like more.
Yeah.
Because they're both good, and they're all good. Actually, I do like all three, and 3 is not perfect, you know. And I'm a guy that likes infamous third movies. I'm a Back to the Future 3 fan. And not people love it, but I dig it, and I like Spider-Man 3, and it's not perfect. It's not a perfect movie, but there's this also, again, we saw it at a young age where it was still like crazy to see it in theaters. You know, it was still a big movie. I remember that was probably one of the highest advance ticket sales back then.
I think really
we were so like people were hyped.
Yeah, because Venom was coming in, and the symbiote was here, and that came in when we were in fucking high school. Yeah. So it was 2007. So that came out like right at the end of like freshman year, because it came out in May. So it was like the end of freshman year, I think, or something like that, or sophomore year, beginning of sophomore year, anyways. But yeah, so Spider-Man 3. Like you said, it's not perfect, but to be honest with you, you know, I know a lot of people are hyping it up right now, guys, and to be honest with you, this is just our own opinion here, but, in my opinion right now, what I'm about to say, but there is a lot of charm moments and fight scenes, even within the fight scenes. There's some charm into them, especially the fight scenes, the first fight scene between James Franco and Toby. You know that I still think that's one of the best fight scenes in the trilogy he's got, because it was emotional, it was cool. You know what I mean? You finally saw it happen. You know what I mean? The friends fighting. This is it. You know, this has been built up since Spider-Man 1. Yeah. You know, and just seeing, Sandman, and you know, I mean, it was okay. Like, you know, he was obviously, everyone knows. Let's just be honest here, guys. And for and the comic homies here, I mean, he didn't have to be in there, obviously. No. If they were gonna do it, I remember mentioning to you too a long time ago that if they were gonna do that, have two villains, just have the first half be James Franco, you know. And then set up the emotional part for Eddie Brock for the last half. And then, you know, obviously Eddie Brock would show up still in the first half, you know what I mean? As Eddie, you know, but build up at the same time. You're ending James Franco's arc and then beginning Eddie Brock's at the same time. And then right when James Franco just gets fucking paralyzed, or when Toby just whatever does to him, then Venom comes in, you know? He thinks he's all good now, you know? Oh, man, I hurt my friend. I'm good now. Boom. And then Venom comes. He's like, oh, no. You know what I mean? He fights as a new thing. We could have had more time with Venom. And obviously that's always everyone's main thing with this movie. But I have to admit, Spider-Man 3 has charm. It's the 15th anniversary. Man, you know what's funny is like I was mentioning to Vista here, I still have this Songs Inspired by soundtrack from back in the day with Wolf Mother and all that shit. It was a great soundtrack, man. I was so excited, dude. I was taking pictures of myself as Venom. That's how much I was a fucking nerd. But it was a happy anniversary to Spider-Man 3, because I saw it in theaters with my with the fam, and it was a good memory still. You know, it was a great memory. It really was, and I think it's definitely rewatchable now for its charm and how much it's aged. It's definitely got a lot to it, especially in film wise. Yeah. There's a lot of good little things in there.
We've come a long way, and especially like which we'll get into then. He's canon now. Tobey Maguire is canon, so it's like
I can't believe it.
So the fact that I think to me, like, it's been so many years, and we've come a long way. And the fact that I could just go back to it, it's like, this is just a fun little adventure for that version of Spider-Man. We get to see, you know, like, hey, this is an adventure that happened, but hey, he's back, man. So, like,
back.
you know, it's just cool that, like...
And all those rumors, too, about, you know, the Spider-Man 4 roaming around and Sam Raimi being interested, but sort of doesn't know yet, you know?
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
But, you know, but people are saying things that, you know, which we'll get into more into the multiverse stuff, but, like... if they do a Spider-Man 4, you got to give it the Logan treatment for McGuire. Just give it just his like good final redemption type movie.
Well, that's why I heard that. Well, I don't think the rumor's true because there's already rumors coming out more.
Yeah.
It's so early. Come on now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you never know. But Moreland, that character I told you about, and now the comic guys know that if you're Spider-Man fans, you know Moreland gave Spider-Man probably the worst ass kicking that anyone's ever gave him, and that was Spider-Man's first experience with the hardest hit he's ever felt. And he's Moreland would be a great addition to that, to end Toby like that, to come from another universe that only kills Spider-Man really, and they feed off energy, and as they call them, totems. And Spider-Man Peter Parker has a pure totem, which means he has pure energy. That's why he wants him so bad, and that's why they kill Spider-Man. So imagine having that, but he really does lose to this guy, and he snatches out his fucking eye, Peter Parker's eye. So imagine with Tobey's awesome, dramatic, you know, painful moments like we've seen in the awesome fight scene at the end of Spider-Man 1, where he gets his face blown to shreds by the pumpkin bomb, baby. Great scene still. Love it. Probably one of the best scenes ever. Imagine that. You know what I mean? Just his end in Spider-Man 4. Boom. And Raimi directs it. You know? You know, go do it. Fuck it. Moreland directs it. Boom. Comes in and fucking just fucks up Tobey. And then Mary Jane's there. And then you can have the Spider-Girl thing. You know? And then she moves off.
Who knows?
I remember even the rumors of No Way Home, you know, which we got to get into.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, but at the end of the day, you know, so, well, we're going to try to get into No Way Home, and it's just like, we have to tell, we just wanted to mention a little bit of that too, guys, where with No Way Home, it was a spectacle, obviously. You know, I mean, I had some things on it too, where it was just, I kind of felt like as well, they were kind of just giving you what you wanted, and there you go, and here's some action scenes, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I have to admit. But, you know, seeing Tobey back for the first time, you know, since we're on the Sam Raimi thing, the anniversaries, it was an anniversary to see him back. You know, it's almost like they planned it, even though it came out in 2021. Yeah. What was it, like December 17th? And it was just like, what the fuck? Holy shit, he's back. And like you said, he's canon. Holy fuck.
He's canon to the MCU.
He's canon to the MCU.
And I never thought it would happen, you know, and like...
And fucking X-Men's canon now.
It's crazy.
They're the earliest ones, next to Blade before that.
And it's crazy how X-Men came out in the year 2000, man. That was like the start of this new generation. And that literally kicked off the block.
The millennia.
And it's crazy we've gone back to that, from going from that to Raimi's Spider-Man. And brief mention, even Iron Man, 14 years this year. Crazy, that kicked off the MCU.
Yeah.
Led to the Avengers, crazy. You know, 10 years, fucking crazy. 10
crazy.
years of that. And that movie was the path of just anything could happen. Like, anything could happen. And that was just crazy how they brought Downey Jr., all these people together. And then now it's like, back then that was huge. But now looking back, it's like, wow, we've come such a long way from that now. And the fact that we're beyond just like in-universe team-up. We are outside bringing other versions of other beings and other fucking, you know, live-action Marvel property. It's happening.
Yeah, from other freaking... Yeah, I think so.
Toby and what you were saying is just the key. You know, that's a key. Fucking bringing back Andrew in that movie, that's key. Like, wow, everything's connected. Like, nothing is not like bullshit no more. Like, it's not like I feel like the value on all those X-Men DVDs have just gone up now, and all the Spider-Man DVDs have just risen higher because it's all canonized now. Because now there's more. Whatchamacallit? Yeah, like it's all connected. So I feel like the value has just gone up again.
Yeah, it's going to because even the figures are coming soon, guys. Dude. Figures from Hasbro Legends coming soon from the No Way Home wave. They're coming. They're coming. But
crazy that.
But it's true, man. It's crazy the time we live in, and it's happened so fast. And to be honest with you, I'm glad we're here because we're about to get into it, guys. Because we need to talk about this movie, because now getting into this whole concept of bringing everyone together, because it kind of made me think about what was his name that played Quicksilver that showed up in WandaVision. Why did I forget his fucking name? Evan Peters.
Yeah,
Mr. Evan Peters.
That too was a segue, which that's a big fucking.
That's a big one because
that whole show is
it's a whole segue to what's happening. And if you guys haven't spoilers, guys, remember this spoiler review that we do. Okay, spoilers, everything's spoilers, but so we'll give you a moment. But yeah, it really was a pinnacle. It was like a pinnacle to the multiverse and what she can do. And the fabric of her. So now that we know that she's not really, really dead, because she signed on already, Elizabeth Olsen, signed on for a 7-year contract extension, only believes me because they already confirmed they are doing a Scarlet Witch movie.
So is that really confirmed? I didn't know that. Is that legit? Is that legit?
They are, the rumor is that they're about to confirm it, or they already confirmed it. I saw that everywhere for a while, like Scarlet Witch movie is supposedly coming soon, or is rumored to be announced. So not sure if this is part of Kevin Feige's little trip, with his crew to go see the next 10 years of Marvel, which means that we're nearing the end of this saga then, if they're already doing that. So I think right after the Fantastic Four releases, that's when we'll get our other endgame, which would be Secret Wars. And that's where we're going to see Superior Iron Man, Tom Cruise. Anyways, but... All right, guys. We just wanted to celebrate that and, just have a little bit of fun with Sam Raimi and all the anniversaries. And we want to just give a big appreciation from the bottom of our hearts to all of them that were involved with it, with Sam Raimi and himself and the crew and the cast, because you guys gave us probably the most beautiful moments of our young childhood. So really appreciate it, man. So what do we got next? Are we getting into the big beans here, or what? What's going on?
I thought we were already in the big beans.
We're in. Shit. Okay. All right. So let's get started then. So since we're already fucking here,
did we talk about Spider-Man?
We talked about No Way Home, and we talked about WandaVision. So yeah, let's get straight into it then.
Because the fact that WandaVision is crucial, and No Way Home is because the fact that one of the biggest MCU movies contained Doctor Strange as a supporting character.
Yep.
And how crucial of that movie's plot because of him as a character, and the fact that these two properties have now come together for another big event. I would say this is probably one of your most anticipated Marvel movies ever, or most.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, like I mentioned in the beginning, it has this different vibe to it where it kind of reminded me of the excitement I felt when I watched the first Iron Man. And yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. Overall, I'm going to get into it. I loved it. I liked it a lot. You know what I mean? I thought it was cool. I was expecting to see some things, you know what I mean? Some people, and some cameos, but that's what's the good thing about this one, because this one kind of showed you, we'll get into the characters too, guys, the arcs, but this one showed you like they really did try something different, you know what I mean? They really broke away from the norm. Right when I also, and I don't know how you feel, but I know recently I've just been feeling like, yeah, they are, I could see their same layout, but once they released this one with Sam Raimi, I knew it's going to be different for sure, and then when I saw it, I was just like, we saw it opening night, we saw it at the IMAX, and it was fucking fantastic. Crowd was great, we had a good time, your buddy that you brought was there, cool guy, and I watched it and I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe we didn't get some things, you know what I mean? But overall, this was like a straight up, dude, like 70s grindhouse with Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? Pushing that PG-13 rating. It was great. We'll get into details soon in a bit, but it was just madness to me. It was a true horror spectacle in a way. And I think it's one of Sam Raimi's most interesting. Probably one of, I may be a lot saying this, but maybe I got to watch his other films before I say it. But I was going to say it might be one of his best, but I got to watch his other films all over again. But, those are my beginning thoughts to the film. But, what do you think? How did you feel? Because we saw it together.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I liked it. And I think I have to agree. Like, there are just things in the movie that, they do push some of all right, they're trying to do some different things, and I can feel that more in the directing of Sam Raimi. I feel the energy.
You're the director guy. Yeah, you're the film. Tell us about that.
I could just feel more like the directing's there. Like, he's just going at it. Like, he's going at whatever, the script that, I don't know, I forgot the writer's name, and I should have that name known by now, but I just feel like,
I think his name was like Michael something.
Yeah, I overall, I enjoyed the movie, and I think I like that they were trying to do some new things. There was some cool, ideas in there. Lots of just ideas. Let's just say they're just throwing a lot of crazy just shit all together in one movie, and it's just. But what I liked about it, at least the flow wasn't long. At least it went by. Like, it was a good 2-hour action adventure movie, and I'm a sucker for those kind of movies where characters travel from place to place. You know, so it's cool. Like when they travel from another universe to another universe. You know, like stuff like that. Cool.
Right.
I think what I was trying to say, but I only would say that really just I'll get into it as we talk about the film. I just think the directing is great. I just feel like. Just the screenplay, just feel like it kind of feels a little bit messy. Like I feel like they're just tossing a lot of just things in there. It's just for it to happen,
right?
Like where they have these characters, and I feel like they were just sort of just making this thing to happen to get from point A to point B a lot. There's a lot of that in the movie. Where they're trying to fill in between just for something to happen. Just felt like the screenplay was like that. They were just kind of throwing this, and it's not just this movie. I feel like a lot of MCU movies just have this. Kind of all right, let's just get to this now. Let's get to that now. Where they're kind of flesh it out more. Just flesh out the, just flesh the situations better. I feel like they needed maybe another writer or even Sam Raimi or someone just to go in there to help tweak the script. So I would say that's my only real complaint. That kind of just makes me saying that it's. I want to say it's great. But that thing is kind of just weighing it down.
Yeah, and that's interesting coming from your perspective, which is great because. Knowing you and having, a lot of experience with just film in general, and knowledge about it, hearing that, thinking about the movie, I've seen it 3 times and the third time I felt a little iffy on some things, like maybe the flow or just how it was, maybe some things were kind of maybe shallow, and I really wish it was maybe a little longer. There's supposedly 40 minutes of uncut footage. So maybe there was some good shit in there. You know what I mean? That maybe would have made the movie better. You know what I mean? Maybe there was some shit going on. Because even when we saw that time of 2 hours and 6 minutes, But going back to your perspective as a filmmaker, I understand that. You know what I mean? And maybe I'll get more of a sense of that as we talk about it, because my head has to wrap around that, because that is a good point that I briefly thought about. So I do want to get into that too, because it's one of those things where I think that I still liked it a lot, and I still do, and I loved it. And I think because it had a lot of little charm to it. You know what I mean? Even though, I understand what you're saying with some of the writing and stuff, because I've even heard, I believe some people say that too, even on social media. Say that, no, it looks like they just added things in, or just just giving you what you want. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. But, I understand that for sure, but I didn't feel too much of that, really. Maybe I can understand maybe with the cameos with the Illuminati, maybe just be like, oh, here it is, here's Professor X, and then, here, now he's dead, but we just gave you what you wanted for a couple minutes, But I think that's what's great about the multiverse concept, because we're going to probably most likely see them later, in future projects. Maybe not, maybe we will. Rumors going around that Reed Richards, John Krasinski, is going to come back, and he may executive produce with Bryce Dallas Howard possibly wanting to directing. So we'll see. I mean, she's directed probably some of the best episodes of, Star Wars recently with Mandalorian and Boba. I mean, it's just, she's great, something about it. Maybe she's getting tips from her daddy. I mean, what's going on? But yeah, and that's great to hear that perspective, because that opened my eyes a little bit as well as to the film and how we're going to, talk about it and what we thought. But, what I think maybe I would really want to talk about is, let's start with that, the flow of it, how it started. I know it started off fast,
Yeah.
We have Defender Strange, with America Chavez, which we can assume that she's from his universe. So he's the one that only held the only America Chavez.
Yeah.
And this Strange was a great Strange, but he just, was willing to do whatever. And, his wrongdoing cost him, thanks to fucking Wanda sending demons after him. If it wasn't for Wanda, I'm pretty sure everything would have been okay. They would have.
Didn't even know that.
Yeah, right. Wow. Which I thought was really cool. Because oh shit, why are they just getting chased? I thought it was just maybe a protector of the book or something like that. I was like, okay, that's great. I liked how it started because it left no choice. Because why build up to the multiverse when we just experienced that with No Way Home?
Yeah.
We already know what it's capable of.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. I do like the pacing in the beginning. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I thought it was cool. The introduction. I like the little classic, like old school. Like let me show the back of their back of their logos, and we see their symbols. That's what they did with America Chavez, and they zoomed into Defender Strange. Which he looked like a fucking Steven Seagal, by the way. I'm gonna call him Dr. Steven Seagal Strange. And it would just look so good, and it was cool, and I liked the brutality of it too as well. It really did push that PG-13 rating, and I read recently that Black Bolt scene where his head explodes is actually from Sam Raimi himself. It wasn't in the writing. He actually added that in there, so I was very happy to read that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense too, right?
That's the most bloodiest part.
That's the most bloodiest, fucking craziest part, and but I thought, going back to the 2 hours 6 minutes, I'm thinking about what you were mentioning, Vista, about that the writing, the fillers, like just to get to one point, to point A to point B. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think I understand what you're saying now, because there was some questions left. Like, for example, how did Wanda know the exact universe he was in 838? You know what I mean? Like, she just automatically knew that was the Wanda she had to do. You know what I mean? Like, how does she know that? You know what I mean? So I understand exactly what you were saying, and I think I'm glad I know that now, because I thought about that too. It was in the back of my mind, but I just love the movie because of it. And I actually on purposely overshadowed that on purpose, because I really do like this movie. And but to go off of that, I understand what you're saying, and that's why I think that I remember, guys. I was even texting Vista here. I was like, dude, like they should have at least jumped into one more universe. I think you could have still had your horror feel like it was during the movie on a bigger scale. I think it was possible. And maybe, I heard recently too, maybe that's why they cut out, supposedly there's a big rumor that they cut out Ghost Rider, Magneto, and there's a third character they cut out as a cameo and everything like that. You know what I mean? It was supposed to be. These are just rumors, guys. Say this with a grain of salt. But that supposedly this uncut footage supposedly includes these cameos, but they were cut. But I know what you mean by that. The jumping around, like she jumped into one Wanda with kids, but the next one, she just happened to know they were in 838 like that. Like, how does she know that? I kind of noticed that too in the first viewing. I was like, oh, she just knew that already? Yeah. Like, she would have more trouble finding him, because there's no way. She would have to jump through so many universes just to find them. And that's where I think maybe they could have taken advantage of the bigger scale. You know what I mean? Make it hard for Wanda. You know what I mean? You want your kids that bad? Well, Doctor Strange is going to make it hard for you. You know what I mean? We need help. Let's jump into different universes, and let's try to find a freaking a solution here. So the jumping around, I think now giving that example, I know what you mean.
And I think that was probably, I could say, from just hearing everyone's thoughts on the movie already and just seeing everyone's complaints, I think the big problem, the big jump, I think is because after WandaVision into the beginning of this movie, there is just kind of a jump there, because the way it ended there, yeah, we saw her at that farm.
Yeah.
But, people's expectations seem to, I think, from what I could see, were people disappointed. And people that don't know the comics, just the fact that she seemed to be still, even though they're trying to build her as a villain in her show, but it still seemed like they're trying to give people hope. Oh, she's still a superhero. She's still an Avenger. She saved the day, defeating, what's her name, Agatha Harkins.
Right.
And then when he jumps into this movie, she's like a full-on baddie from the get-go, which I personally didn't have a problem with that, but I could see what we're trying to say to it by the jump, and then also other people's expectations. Yeah. And I think that was the plot of the film. I think that's also probably what I'm hearing.
Yeah. They thought there was something different.
I think, people had a whole different expectation of what this movie was going to be, just based off these theories, which we'll probably get into,
Yeah, and you know what? That does make sense, but a lot of people miss, too, that the Darkhold actually, corrupts you. Mm-hmm. It does corrupt you. I understand the jump, for sure, thinking back, be like, yeah, she did defeat Agatha. Mm-hmm. And she became Savior, but in the end, she was still dealing with the Darkhold at the end of WandaVision,
which was creepy still. It still gave an evil vibe,
right? Which showed that she didn't change. She was playing a role. She was acting, and that's why I think now that she's been so stuck with the Darkhold, and she found out, and literally at the end of WandaVision, she found out that there's a multiverse, and that's why that monster and the demon is being sent after Defender Strange and America Chavez because she already found the multiverse before Doctor Strange did. So I think that's where she started hunting for her kids, and that's where maybe the first universe she jumped in was probably the Defender Strange universe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Possibly, And maybe that's where she found out this maybe America Chavez was like, oh, she's able to jump through universes. So maybe at the end of WandaVision when she throws the book away, like she's going to chase after her kids, she already knew about it. She was jumping in and hunting. Yeah. So, I understand, the big jump, but I think that also I think that could be a reason as to why that jump is there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like telling the viewer, guys, you already tell at the end she's in her Scarlet Witch form. And it's like Doctor Strange when he was reading, when he was sleeping, but she was just like doing the same thing, but awake. You know what I mean? Which is kind of weird, You're awake, but in two different forms. It's interesting. So she knew how to do that. Yeah. So she was able to break reality. So it makes sense to jump to me. That's just but it's also good too because that Darkhold really takes advantage of you.
And rumors, I think Sam Raimi directed that. The end credit scene of WandaVision, that part where she is in that corner.
Really?
In her form.
Interesting.
It did have a creepy vibe, and I remember, that should have been the hints, but I think people just overlooked that. And forgot. But I want to say, just by looking into this, I want to say that he directed that moment, because that gave me an eerie feeling.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, that there was something off about that. I don't know what to feel. But now it actually is smart looking back after this movie. Yeah. It kind of makes that show better now, actually. Some things in this movie.
Right. And
clear things.
Right. And the Darkhold, and if you have it in the hands of the Scarlet Witch, you're fucked. Mm-hmm. And Sam Raimi did a good job of showing that. Mm-hmm. I loved her, it felt so scary. It felt like Blair Witch or some shit. Like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Some of the camera work too is like, oh, we're getting chased by fucking, we're in like a multiverse like forest. We're getting chased by a witch. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I get what you're saying though, Yeah. And Doctor Strange was just one of those things where I felt that Wanda in WandaVision was just like, I understood the jump, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I had a feeling people were going to kind of ask that already, kind of be like, and I felt they were going to already talk or bitch about the pacing of it. Yeah. And I was like, I understand that, I said, but at the end of the day, they probably don't want to waste time again. You know what I mean? They probably didn't want to give you that typical layout again, or else you would have complained about them giving you that typical explanation layout in the beginning.
They expect everybody to keep up with the MCU. It's like you literally have to watch everything at this point now.
Yeah, now that's what it is. Yeah. It's a live action comic book. It's just fucking awesome. Yeah. And this is what, as comic book fan as myself, always wanted. Something like this. And they're doing it, and that's why it is really blessed to be alive within a time like this. Yeah. And seeing, but going back to a Scarlet Witch and her jumping, I understand that, but I think those people that are having those harsh moments are not taking that in consideration, because you should already know she didn't give a shit. She just played a face in freaking Westview, and that's why obviously you saw her still dealing with the Darkhold in that room, and she found the multiverse like that. She didn't even have to do anything. She just found the multiverse like that through the Darkhold.
Well, in the comics, she does become evil. She does become a villain.
In her first appearance, she first stars as a villain. She comes as a villain in the X-Men.
Well, and even in Age of Ultron, her and that version of Quicksilver were technically bad guys.
Yeah.
They were goons of fucking Ultron. So she had some evil moments. We keep forgetting about that. I think just people are just probably so attached after these Avengers movies, which I can get. All the fans, you love her, she's a beautiful woman, so I guess everyone wants her to still be that hero. They all, especially all these ladies, oh, she's our hero, whatever, cool. I get it. But also, just be open to this cool shit they're doing, I think it's kind of cool that we take this turn and do something different.
Yeah.
And we get to see her at her full potential.
Yep. I mean, she's able to dreamwalk and into herself and kill your mega superheroes easily. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, guys. Jesus, we're all having throat problems here. But it's like one of those things where, yes, we did see her at her full might, but we actually didn't, because in the comic, which is funny, because what happens is that she takes over Professor Xavier's mind to enhance her reality warping abilities. So every single superhero gets what they want in life. She gives it to them, and they don't realize that they were superheroes. So she kind of erases them in a way. But she doesn't kill them. She just erases the mutants' powers from their lives and gives them what they want. So we saw, I think, the MCU's version of her at her almost full potential. You know what I mean? Because it technically kind of is in a way, maybe. Because she does kind of supposedly sacrifice herself in the end. But obviously that's not true. Yeah, I mean, we saw that big red burst in the end. That's not her exploding. That's just her, like, probably getting the fuck out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so she's somewhere else now. And you can tell that even in the end, which we'll go back into the writing part of it. In the end, I can understand, too, how quick the ending was, and it was just like that. Like, oh, she's just redeemed? Like that? So the whole movie built up to her. She just had to see her kids scared of her, and she just, like, says, oh, that's it. So we went through all that, and then it did, and then you're just gonna you're just gonna stop what you're doing just like that easy. So I understand what you're saying about the writing. I understand that, and I think it's funny that I know that because I think I was thinking that in the back of my mind as well, and I won't lie about that because I kind of viewed that I was kind of ignoring it because I just like the movies. It was something so different from what we've seen, and I love that, and I love something fresh like that, and that's what I've been waiting for.
Oh, absolutely.
And seeing that, I get what you're saying though. You know. Like, some of the writings, like, whoa, that was quick. Like, if you would have to... I was hoping maybe... I can understand maybe, like, the old school, like, superhero movies where they took their time beating the shit out of the villain. To make him, like, understand, like, you are losing. You will not win. You know what I mean? Maybe it would have been cool to see more zombie strange go against her to really give it that horror effect, like a witch versus a zombie. You know what I mean? That would be fucking sick, right? And even he had the spirits eating her power. Yeah. And boom, it would have been sick, and it was badass.
Yeah.
Now, I get what you're saying because certain things like that are very quick, and I'm not sure if this is what you mean by inserting into the movie, but scenes like that, maybe as an example, where they insert something like that, so cool, but then they end it fast.
Yep.
And it kind of like, okay, here it was, guys, like, but we're going to end it quick. Mm-hmm. Kind of like feeding, I get what you're saying now. So is that what you mean?
Yeah, it just feels like, this guy, this writer he's done only the Disney Plus shows, right?
He's done, that's what I was going to mention too, he's done Loki, and his name's Michael Waldron.
Yeah, so that and WandaVision, right? He was one of the writers on that show. I don't know. Like,
I believe so. I think so.
I feel like it's just the screenplay could have just... I think it just needed maybe another draft or just someone, like, to help kind of flesh things more. Like, I see what the layout is. I just feel like to get to certain things, you could have done a little bit more. And I feel like... Not just the script, too. I just feel like there was still kind of a leash over the movie. Like, you were getting to, like, let's go more crazy. Let's get more violent. But I feel like there's still something restraining it, pulling it back a little bit,
Well, that's interesting you say that because I just recently saw an interview with Sam Raimi where he mentions that Marvel wanted to do a horror film, but they didn't want to go head up full on first. They wanted to dip their toes into it. So there's your answer right there. Because it makes sense because I think they do want to go that route, but they have to test it with the moviegoers. And I think that more of the actual concern with this movie is not the gore, because everyone talking about the brutality of this film, love it.
Yeah.
And everyone's saying, oh, the violence, I loved it. It was brutal. It was awesome. It was
cool. Yeah.
It was cool. And I was like, this is MC. Oh, like cool. We saw the very first version of the MCU. In terms of, like, hitting that rated R aspect. What does their blood look like? What does their violence look like? Yeah. And it was very satisfying. And it was kind of disturbing. You know what I mean? It was really cool seeing Black Bolt getting exploded, Mm-hmm. But I know what you mean. And then I know you probably even seen, too, now we're talking about this stuff, which we'll get into more of the good stuff in a moment, is the moment where Reed Richards kind of gives away his weakness,
Oh, yeah.
And he's the smartest man alive. Why would he do that? I keep hearing that. And I kind of understand what they're saying now. Yeah. Because it is kind of true, like, one whisper from his mouth, like... But it kind of makes sense, though, why he would say that,
Well, he was trying to... I've seen that argument, too, a lot. And, yeah, I can see that. And I also see why they did it. He's that guy who's trying to reason. He's just trying to, like...
Exactly.
Because he's the good guy. He's fucking the Fantastic Four, They're this more wholesome hero.
Yeah.
And to see him... To kind of establish his character to be that type. He's not willing to fight first. He's really the reason. That's why he's smart. He's a smart guy trying to get into her head. But she's just beyond. Doesn't give a fuck. And that's why they eat it, which we'll get into. I know we're going to get into that.
Yeah, and that's why it's like one of those things where it's just so great where... speaking of Wanda, since we're on the topic of her right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just wrecked it, dude.
Yeah.
She really did. Elizabeth Olsen killed it. I thought she did a great job on it. I thought she really nailed the fucking aspect of being hurt. I can't wait to see her, to be honest with you, and more.
Yes.
You know, and
I hope
more.
there's more.
And well, there is more. She signed a contract 7 years. Like,
I hope so.
She's coming back, but she doesn't know where it's going yet. So keep hearing that she just wants to see what's going. So, and that's an interesting question too, because I've been asking myself that. Where is everything going right now? You know, where is everything? We haven't gotten no word about where it's going, and I'm kind of like not worried about him. I'm actually kind of like curious. Yeah. I'm kind of excited because I'm wondering if like what they haven't shared anything, because it's like, what's happening? Yeah. Like, okay, yeah, we got some leaks about Kang and the Quantumania leak photo, and he basically leaked it, you know? But that's not till another year. So, like what are we really planning here? You know what I mean? And I'm wondering if it's like either, we'll take the bat first. Are they getting kind of losing a little bit of steppage here and they're trying to regain? Maybe that's why Kevin Feige is doing this trip thing to get everyone away. You know what I mean? To kind of get everyone refreshed and be like, guys, we gotta rebuttal. You know what I mean? You know, is it that, or is it really just they're hiding something really good and they're just like, we know, but let's see what happens. I don't know, but you know, it's just one of those things where we're just gonna have to see. You know.
I think I feel like right now they're just pumping out so much too, and I feel like, you know, what's the rush? You guys just made Endgame, Infinity War. If you guys are trying to rush these, why are you rushing? I know like you're working for Disney, they want to release these movies,
right?
But I feel like but you're starting to feel it lost in the craft. If people are feeling that way, then there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, like too much.
Like, do you think maybe that's just like, maybe that is slowing some of them down? You know, maybe they're just pumping out too much right now.
Yeah,
it's like slowly ease in there. I feel like you're getting into this already. We just got this, you know.
Well, the funny thing is, I think that kind of leads into, and that's true, in missed opportunities in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Because that movie could have been like an extra 30, 40 minutes easy. Yeah. And I was expecting it to be that. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it to be even in the 2 hour and 20 minute range. I was expecting it to literally be 2.5 hours or above. Yeah. Because I was like, this is going to be an epic. Yeah. This is Doctor Strange in the multiverse. He's going through different universes and just joining people and fighting against the worst of things. And if he has to fight Wanda, that's cool. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's cool. And she, like, let's say all the heroes band against her or some shit. You know, but I see they, you know, and it just, that's what's cool. And I kind of wish, that's why I mentioned, they kind of wish they went into one more universe. You know, that would have been cool to kind of like see what, if you're talking about the multiverse of madness, because I've heard this too, and I kind of understand this as well, where it's like, well, if it's called the multiverse of madness, it was only one universe we went in. You know what I mean? We only went in one universe. Mm-hmm. Like, were we supposed to just understand that there's more out there? That's it. We knew that. We wanted to see more. Yeah. What happened in Earth fucking, you know, what was the other, like 0001, you know, where Moreland's from, the Inheritors, you know, like, I get that, you know, like the typical, like, get it there, because there could have been more fleshed out, you know, so I understand that, you know, like, now, it's like, yeah, you know, it is kind of, it's true, yeah, I really wish we saw more, and maybe, where we could have actually just seen one more and I think maybe this movie could have gone under the bridge here, mm-hmm. with all the relying on cameos. Mm-hmm. I think this movie could have gotten away with it because this was like Doctor Strange in the multiverse. Yeah. So it makes sense.
But you still got
some. But yeah, we got some, but they already revealed that so much in the trailers already, in the TV spots. Yeah. And I was not hoping for them to reveal Captain Carter getting thrown with her jetpack. I was hoping to see that on fucking film.
Or just like anything, even just Patrick Stewart in general. I was like, wow, that's pretty big. You're going to just put that little thing in there? That's still a big cameo. I would still want to discover that in the movie.
Maybe the movie would have benefited from that hype. Maybe it would have been more pleasing to the audiences if they would have just been like, yeah, maybe they didn't play it right here. But it was funny because they did do reshoots, but were they good or bad? Now I'm actually thinking about that. Were they good, bad? Are they just, or maybe there's some they did have stock footage and maybe it was going another way, but supposedly Sam Raimi came in during the writing process, you know, so it was just kind of like one of those things where they already had it fleshed out with that Michael Waldron guy. So it was already just kind of like, okay, so it's already written technically. So Sam Raimi's just kind of putting his flavor then. Is that, or did he actually have some writing into it? I mean, I know he did, because there's some scenes that are totally Spider-Man Raimi.
And that's what it was. I think that's where the issue comes with, like, you had this guy's screenplay, and you just get a director to direct that wherever that guy wrote. So he just directed the hell out of this little guy's screenplay, you know. So I feel like that's the movie, and I feel like just what you were saying, just the issues. I think it was just the screenplay really that's really
Yeah.
bogged it down for me, and could have fleshed more. You could have done more, as you were saying.
Yeah.
Another universe or more, get more playful. And I just feel like, I don't get more into it, but the Illuminati does feel like, oh, were these the only people available at this time to film, this scene? Because I know they're all standing together. Or are they all together? Are they all filmed at different times and you're just kind of inserting them there,
Well, my worry about this was that I just hoping the cameos, they weren't just going to, like, feed us it. Oh, here's Reed Richards. Like, I kind of miss having a hero come in and his or her cameo come in, like, epically.
Yeah.
Like, let's say, like, if Mr. Fantastic, like, Doctor Strange was fighting, like, Baron Mordo in the Sanctum Sanctorum on Earth 838, and then you just see Mr. Fantastic just grab Doctor Strange and then just, like, throw him or something. Then he enters to intervene the fight. I was like, oh, shit! That's a cool, like, cameo. Yeah. I understand the Illuminati because that's what they are. They're already a group, so it makes sense for them just to be introduced that way. And I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah. And, to admit, some of the reactions I got were pretty fucking good. From that, but still, the cameos, I was just hoping that if they were going to have more cameos, that they weren't just going to be like that, just like, oh, this is blah, 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 this is Tony Stark, he's from Earth, blah, he is Superior Iron Man, you know what I mean? Like, maybe I would have liked seeing the heroes intervene and get cameoed by them coming in an action scene, because imagine if Ghost Rider came out of nowhere when him and Sinister Strange are fighting, and let's say they're fighting and they're breaking the multiverse, and then Ghost Rider comes in, and then he just tries to stop one of them, and then it's just going crazy. That would have been cool to see, like maybe Sinister Strange and Doctor Strange fight, and the multiverse is just breaking. That would have been a cool concept.
Would have been cool. And see what you're saying right there. Do you think that's also key for most audiences are not enjoying the movie as much because they create these expectations that are so much better than what we got from the film, Do you think that's a big case of what the kind of dividing people?
Right. Well, I mean that was just something that came up because of the actual ending and what we were talking about, or what could have made this movie, I guess, a little bit better. Mm-hmm. That's what this is based off of. Mm-hmm. Not really expectations, because I really had expectations for this movie and high ones, and even with all what we're talking about right now, I still, like I said, like it, and I feel good about it. But if in terms of expectations, yes, I agree. A lot of people have these expectations of this every Marvel film just has to be this end game spectacle,
They set the bar,
and they set the bar really high for themselves, which it makes sense, and I don't blame them for doing that for the Infinity Saga. Yeah. I thought that was fleshed out perfectly timed. I thought Endgame happened fine. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, that was perfectly timed. Mm-hmm. But I agree to that extent where there is a lot of expectations now, and I think that's where everyone got hurt, and half the people online are saying that you guys just have high expectations. This movie was good. You guys just there's maybe some things, but at the end of the day, you got something different. Yeah. What happens if they kept doing the same thing, the same layout? Wouldn't you guys have complained, be like, why aren't they doing something different? Now it really is a cash grab. You know what I mean? Like, they tried something different at least. Yeah, the writing was, like, now we're talking about the writing. Yeah, there's there's cracks and big-time missed opportunities in there. But at the end of the day, it was fun. It had a cool horror vibe to it. I love that grindhouse aspect. This is just me, And it was fun, but I agree that I even had high expectations. But that was just me. I was satisfied. But what do you think? Do you think that they do that? Because I believe that a lot of your, no offense, common MCU moviegoer expects something like, oh, great. And I really did believe, even with the trailers, that I won't lie, that I thought we were going to get a little bit more with the multiverse. Like we keep repeating. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. We repeat it. It just true is. I mean, we're talking about the Multiverse of Madness here. Yeah. If that's what I'm saying, the title was Multiverse of Madness, so I thought the title was giving away something super fucking wild. Like, they were going for a horror film, and Scarlet Witch could have still been the villain. But what happens if she was, let's say, hunting them still, but through multiverses? And she keeps killing everyone in every multiverse that they jump in. That would have been fucking cool.
Like more of that Illuminati scene, like more of that kind of momentum.
Yeah, keep going. She killed everyone in this universe. We got to jump to the next one. And that would be cool. And then that's where they land. And then let's say they end up in I'm tapping your fucking knee because I'm excited. But let's say they did end up in Nicolas Cage's Sony universe, and let's say they jump in there and they're boom, and they land in, and then Ghost Rider's like in the middle of fighting like Blackheart or something. You know what I mean? And then he's like, "Who are you?" And then Elizabeth Olsen comes through the portal again, and she's like, "That's the problem." And then that's when Ghost Rider comes in, and so he's getting like help each universe, but they keep getting destroyed by Scarlet Witch. Then he really does find the Book of Vishanti, you know, because okay, here's one thing I will agree with: when he finds the Book of Vishanti, and then Professor X tells him, "Oh, you yourself built a gateway, a pathway." I'm like, "Oh, cool." But then it's just like underground, and then that's it. You know what I mean? And then it just moves into the Book of Vishanti right there in the watch. I was like, okay, I can understand how that was really fast, you know. But I just, that's good we talk about this because we flesh out some of the, the issues because I do want to talk about the good things.
Yeah.
In a bit here. But yeah, I definitely understand. I do believe that expectations as of now, with now everything's mixed reviews, I think we should now let's just take a step back and think here. And see what the MCU has planned, and let's just like take a seat back until you see what they got going on.
Yeah, and I think what ruined the expectations, and we've talked about this, you and I, before, and it's been confirmed that this movie was originally supposed to come out before No Way Home.
Right.
And before the pandemic, in 2019 or 2020, they were planning these movies. And then I remember before the shutdown, we heard the news of Sam Raimi going to direct this movie. But I also think that like maybe their ideas kind of flipped because now there's reports saying that America Chavez was supposed to be in No Way Home apparently as the person that brings all the Spider-Mans together. That was the original idea apparently from some reports.
Yeah, they though that stuff was I know released back when No Way Home was released.
Yeah.
Talking about America Chavez, I know that was mentioned already during No Way Home back then when it was released. So I did hear about that for sure because there's even concept art out there that I've seen. And see, now I understand. Now, see, that would have been cool too because that would have been a better reason to bring in the Spider-Man, a more epic reason, right? Mm-hmm. So you saying that now, Doctor Strange was supposed to come out before No Way Home.
They said this was supposed to be released before, and I could also feel that the reshoot was that line where he had an incident with Spider-Man when they're in that pizza restaurant.
Yeah.
I could tell that's one of the obvious reshoots. Okay, to make it chronological. No Way Home. It just came out before. So maybe I think the switcheroo kind of... Because the expectations probably for No Way Home were like, do you think that this movie, if this was the appetizer, wouldn't be as hated because No Way Home was the second one after? Do you think that maybe toyed with people's heads where they thought we're going to get that level again, but it's kind of a little bit inversed on that?
Well,
other than the Illuminati scene, which,
Well, I think what would have happened is, here's what my not negative thinking, but my critique on that would be. Which I'll get into the positive about that.
Right.
But it would be like, well, if you already had the Multiverse of Madness first, why didn't you just put him in that movie if they were going to travel through multiverses?
Right.
And then why wait to give all three Spider-Man in their own movie? Like, that kind of just seems like you're just cashing in on this multiverse idea.
Yeah.
That's what would be my cynical thinking towards that coming out before. I'd be like, okay, I see what you're doing now. Now you're really building off this multiverse hype. Yeah. I get it now what you're doing. Yeah, Spider-Man was fun, but I could tell you're just building off this multiverse hype. I think that would have been my cynical view on it. And go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no! I was gonna say to add on to that because I only say that because some people are saying that No Way Home felt like a bigger movie than this one. I've been hearing that a lot lately on the film. That's why I bring up like, do you think the switcheroos kind of fuck with people's heads on this one?
You know what? I think so because if you had that reshoots. And you had to fix everything chronologically because you couldn't finish Multiverse of Madness before, which would have been cool to see it beforehand. Yeah. Because that would have been cool to see a shitload of cameos. Then it would have made the good thing is it would have made sense why Toby came in, and that would have been cool to see America Chavez team up with Tom Holland, and then they fight. Almost like imagine America Chavez. Well, she'll bring in the villains. Something happened it's a cool concept, and that's where my mind goes: is where the fuck do these decisions are made? Like who says why don't we do that? And even Kevin Feige, like, that would make sense too. Yeah. Why was there some internal stuff happening at the time, within Marvel that was just like, we have to release No Way Home first. Fuck it. You know what I mean?
Was it the shutdown that really made it bad?
Yeah, exactly. Was the shutdown really that bad? I mean, you're the industry. Wouldn't you know you have protocols for this to keep going? Like, this is stupid. It's not stupid, guys. I know a lot of people are sensitive to that topic because, a lot of people are affected by it. Don't get us wrong. Trust me. you know. But it's just one of those things where it's true. You're Hollywood. You're the Marvel universe. Won't you think you expected this? You know, was it really that, or what was happening? And maybe it was conflicts with writing. You know, why did the first director leave then? He fell out. You know what I mean? And I heard it was creative differences because he wanted to do something else, and the writers wanted to do something else, and the director got canned.
Yeah, I think his vibe is more like his horror movies are more straight, like serious Conjuring type movies. You know, I haven't seen most of his stuff, but just the vibes I get from his previews. But I think maybe I heard rumors. I don't know if this is true, but I heard something that like they were just turned off by that tone. So Sam Raimi had a balance of dark but also fun. Campy, you know, where that's what MCU is kind of, you know, has a good balance of stuff. You know, they feel like that's the director to balance creepy, but yeah, it's still fun and energetic. You know,
right,
which is awesome. But I could see maybe the other tone if it was too dark. You know, Disney. I feel like they still want to play it safe sometimes. You know, they still don't want to go the extra mile. If that's the case.
Well, I feel like they wanted to do that with Moon Knight, like you know, like we were talking about earlier in the episode here, where it was like, are they like trying to like where was the tone with this? The only horror part was when Khonshu was coming out. I'm like, in the trailer was scary, the scariest thing, you know. And I think this is the Multiverse of Madness was to dip their toes in it. I truly believe Sam Raimi when he said that. Like, I think this is the Multiverse of Madness to dip their toes. That's why I think that they are planning something really fucking big, because people are forgetting and not talking about Kang and Loki. There is shitload of multiverses that are just sprouting right now. And right now, I think that we really need to wait. Thor and Love and Thunder would be cool, but I think what we really need to wait for is 2023. That when Ant-Man comes, and then Captain Marvel maybe, because that's coming out later in summer. They switched the dates, so Ant-Man's coming first in February now. So Ant-Man's first, and then Fantastic Four is supposed to be coming out later that year of next year of 2023. Yeah, so supposedly that's what I've seen here on the slate they had, I guess. Or so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do they really do have something big? Or are they just like, okay, we Doctor Strange, we get in the mixed reviews, but that was our dipping our toes into horror.
Yeah.
What did people like and what did people not like? Okay, now let's get into Doctor Strange 3, which we'll talk about too in those after credit scenes, and I'll shed some light on that. I think and with the Fantastic Four, with this heel rumor about John Krasinski,
the smartest man alive.
still being our MCU Reed Richards. It's going to happen. It kind of seems like it. They already had him in here. Why would they just waste him for that one thing? You know, unless Marvel really is getting stupid. You know, but I even saw too that it was confirmed that Kevin Feige actually called John Krasinski, and the only reason why for the casting was because of the fans. He said, "Call us. The fans want you. Come in. You know, you're Reed Richards."
It's almost like if people think he's done, no, he's coming back, because I think that was just like a teaser to what he's going to be like. The Earth, what is it, 636? That their MCU Earth?
So the main Marvel universe in the comics and the MCU now, they confirmed it, is 616.
616.
So the universe they jumped into with the Illuminati was 838.
So yeah, I feel like we would get the MCU version of John Krasinski. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that was a teaser, total big teaser right there. I think the reaction's strong. I feel like that was the strongest reaction of the...
That was the whole thing, really. It was that and Professor X and the X-Men 97 thing that played.
Which we'll get
that
into.
Was crazy. That was just insane. You know, but, you know, yeah, I get what you're saying. There's a lot of giveaways, but I want to get into the good now.
Yeah.
So what I liked about this shit is, first I got to say here, what did you think about it? From a filmmaking aspect, what did you like about the film? Positives about that. What did you think about it?
Well, it was really, I mean, other than it's so energetic, it felt like I wasn't bored. I felt like there was always just constant things, just like, okay, shit's gonna go down. But it's just the way it's directed, and I like there's just some cool batshit sequences that we never seen in Marvel. Like, I know I'm gonna jump to the end, but I love it when he just gets into that zombie, you know. And his hand rising out of the ground, and just the music was so strong, and just see, like, that's like the classic, like, That's Sam Raimi right there. That's him bringing back his like true horror nature out. You know, it's going Evil Dead, Army of Darkness right there.
And it was just so obvious right there, especially when he was going to do that.
Yeah.
And then especially with the lighting of the lightning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the whole kind of like studio looking lightning, you know?
Yeah.
And when I saw, I was like, oh my god, I think Doctor Strange was just like this whole ode to Sam Raimi himself.
Yeah.
Like it had hints of like Army of Darkness. You know, with the whole humor at the end when he's like, in other me.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
you know, it had Army of Darkness. It had, like you said, Evil Dead. Yeah. It had, for example, I thought were great. I thought the Danny Elfman's score obviously hit in scenes, obviously. Yeah. He never failed. Let's just say that is definitely one consistent thing that we can say here that Danny Elfman hasn't missed. He is still making awesome fucking scores. And it was great seeing him. One of my favorite scenes is when the Spider-Man movie kind of references, you know, the style, where he looks at Rachel, you know, McAdams in the wedding, and it gets quiet, everything around, you just hear the music, and you hear him looking at her, you know what I mean? Like, I love those moments, you know, and Danny Elfman's little, like, you know, strings come in.
Yeah.
I really love when Sam Raimi brings in that, you know, and I thought that whole beginning scene was like a whole, like, Spider-Man scene, like, you know, with the contact and everything, which led to one of the coolest scenes, you know, which is his transformation into Doctor Strange from his suit. That was really cool. Seeing a real superhero get into his costume in midday in front of people, you know?
And it's so funny, it's a review for Doctor Strange, but we never talked about Doctor Strange himself yet throughout this whole review.
Yeah.
And seeing, I know people are saying it should have been called Wanda in the multiverse. And whatever, but you have to give props. I think like he was surprisingly great in this movie.
He was, and I think like, you know, I think you know, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I knew he was going to do good.
Right. I mean,
you know,
yeah.
But I know what you mean. You know, like, you know, to do that good and to be something so embedded into the character, because certain angles of him in the suit, you know, was awesome. I just like that whole. It was like a magician. He brings out the little handkerchief, you know what I mean? And then he just gets into his costume. I was like, wow, that is like the master of the mystic arts, you know?
It was cool.
It was a cool, It
was almost like, I know Sam Raimi is I think he's mentioned that he's a fan of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, and it almost felt like a nod to those classic, where he's the superhero getting into costume, but it was in a good way, where it's like that's the superhero feel. You know?
Yeah.
Because that character is now a superhero after the events he's gone through.
Yep.
It was earned, and I was like, you know what? We never got to see him like that yet before, so that was fun. I thought that was
that's why it was cool too. It did remind me of the comics, where you know, we don't ever get that kind of a hero transformation. We either get in the MCU them just coming out badass with the suit on already.
Yeah.
But the only time we really got a real transformation was probably with fucking the first Iron Man, where we really saw the transformation and where he gets the suit put on, and they took their time with that scene. Oh, hey, big thanks to Jon Favreau as well for launching this. But you know, it was like that, and I love that when he jumped. And I remember the reaction to in theaters. People were like, "Oh yeah," because it was cool like that. Yeah. It brought you back to when you were a young dude, man. You know, like when you were just that young kid, that young boy, just fucking with your fucking toys. You know, you were under 10 years old, 5 years old, and you're just holy shit. You know, and then you just see this in action. Him just say, "Okay, here we go." Yeah. Kind of whips it out, cape on, let's go superhero style, right in front of. It was just great, and that's what I wanted to mention too about the film as well. Is that Benedict is just, I love his look in this one. They gave him like he looks thinner, he looks good, you know. Sam Raimi, the way he did his, like, told him to say things, you know, like even little things like telling America Chavez, like, you alright? Like his face, you know, like you could tell Sam Raimi knows how to bring out the emotion in these characters. Yeah. Even in little things like that. I know that sounds really small, guys, but to me, I see those little things and I'm like, I love those little behaviors, you know, that Sam Raimi brings out in these actors. And they really get into their emotions, you know, and that's why I think Benedict really worked well. You know what I mean? As well, which I think really brought up his performance too, was the direction of someone like Sam who's worked with emotional characters like Spider-Man. And I think to be honest, I think he's a great Doctor Strange. And what I want to get into with you as well is his different iterations of Doctor Strange throughout the movie. You know, what else do you think?
To finish him off, though, overall, I just like how much more mature he has. As the character, I feel like he's just grown over all these movies, even his appearances.
Of course,
That's this Strange, and you know what? And also, one of my gripes, though, what you're asking me now about his iteration, I I wanted more of his evil one, the one that I thought earlier. Everyone thought he was the one from the What If.
That was probably me.
Because it's very he wants Christine and there's a
Yeah.
very similar vibe. But anyways, I wanted more of that. And I remember in the whole movie, I was like, when are we gonna see that Strange? Because the teaser, that part really got my chills. You know?
Yeah. Things just got out of hand.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't get that line either.
No, it something felt like I don't know. I guess they kind of bait and switched it. I think I had that same expectation with people where I thought we were gonna see more of him. I thought he was more crazy shit.
Yeah.
And that scene's cool. Don't get me wrong. That appearance, that whole scene was so well done. And I like the dramatic tension and this reveal of the sister.
Yeah.
Like that performance of both of the six.
Yep.
It's crazy. And I thought that's even stuff that's better than Moon Knight. That duality.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how both like Moon Knight has that and this has also duality thing too.
Yeah, and it does have that, and it has a lot of themes like that, and that's what's good about it. Is a lot of people, I think, if you think about it more, the film, that's where a lot of the charm comes from, and to also base off his his matureness as a hero, I like how his abilities have improved as well. His spells are better. Yeah. His spells he's mastered now. Like in each situation, he doesn't struggle. Yeah. He already knows. He didn't. I know in Infinity War and all that, in Endgame, he knew what he was doing, but this time he's fully confident. And I think it's because also maybe he doesn't have the title of Sorcerer Supreme with the big weight on him. Yeah. So he feels less of a weight, like where he can really just feel like he's his own thing, his own Strange,
Especially makes sense for Wong to carry that,
Yeah.
He's the one that's been there forever, so.
Right, and that's the thing, which I'll mention too about him as Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah. But and that's what I like too, seeing him get better with his spells. I thought that was really cool because I saw a whole bunch of new shit. Like that whole thing where he just grabs a lamppost and stabs Gargantos and rips out the eye. I was like, this is just stuff that's straight from, which, based off of Maturinus as a character, which, that's why I guess that would go to the scene where he tells Christine, I love you. And I thought that was a great scene. That was just like your typical, like, emotional Sam Raimi, like, this is where the hero tells how he feels, you know what I mean? Yeah. This is like the end of Spider-Man 1, you know what I mean? Where he tells you, I will always be there for you, Yeah. It was kind of like that in a way where he was looking at her and to go, like you said, his matureness, he's finally done it. You know what I mean? He's finally reached that peak where his humility is there. Yeah. And he finally listened to what Tilda Swinton told him in the first one. It's not about you. You know what I mean? It's not, and I think this movie also proved that as well. Where he was actually had to take care of a little girl, someone else this time. You know what I mean? He had to take care of someone that other than himself, and this really showed him. It was kind of like, hey, kid, like he was able to learn how to care for a kid, but it looks like it was natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was great, and I think that's what helped him a lot too. And helped him mature a little better with that. And America Chavez added a lot to the film, I believe. Especially that aspect, and she was a little charmer. But yeah, that's and I understand that in terms of Strange, talking about him as a character. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And you're right, he did mature so well. Yeah. And the thing is that he and with like I was thinking about too is when he did mention his sister Donna. I was like, cool. I was like, we really get it why he's before he was so adamant about working, he probably just his whole life wanted to get his mind off that shit, And he's like, I gotta save people. He didn't save his sister. So it had a theme of really just like, of having like the different iterations and him looking at himself from these different universes and being like, I can't be like that person. Yeah. And that's what I know this whole, also the big theme of this was as well, as showing his different iterations and him learning from each of them. When, Professor X is telling him about Supreme Strange. Oh, hey, he dealt with the Darkhold. Look what happened. Mm-hmm. Scarlet Witch, what's happening to you could have been you. Then you have Sinister Strange. He lost everything. He lost control. He destroyed his whole universe. And he's killing other Stranges. You know what I mean? And he's just like, wow, I could really become this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it really was that, him finding himself too, but in a way where he was finding himself and what not to be, and then a little girl learning how to care for someone else. Yeah. And his arc is I think was really improved on this one a lot. Mm-hmm. With just also because of that,
Because I agree, and I think one thing I want to say, like, I know it was, but yeah, not to go off what you're saying, I wanted to also compliment, because I felt like I was criticizing the script a little too much, but I would say the positives of what you were saying is that they did a good job with the arcs of Strange and Wanda, and both having this theme of, like, you can't have, at all. You can't have what you want. You know, you can't get everything you want in life. And I feel like, you know, we've seen that theme done, but the way they constructed, you know, to that point, it's like, you know, I think, okay, that does feel earned. You know what you were saying with that.
Yeah.
And I thought too what you were saying about him having to care for somebody, which makes it a real sequel to the first movie. Which in rewatching, I'm glad I rewatched it because there's little things I forgot. Like, oh yeah, that was a thing. And especially that, you know, people are saying, oh, he has such a small role. Michael Stolberg, who was the other doctor, the other surgeon in the first film, which kind of goes to what you're saying about his arc, because, you know, he was kind of addicted to that guy in the first movie. And him going from being that arrogant guy to this hero now, and to see that guy in that point in life, it was such a, like, oh wow. So I kind of see what you're saying of this character's arc of being mature, and like he's no longer that guy he was before. Even though the other guy's kind of like, he doesn't care about him, you know, he doesn't really, you know.
Yeah. I get you. I think the thing is with that Michael Stolberg guy, you're right, because he came and he looks like he was just lost everything, and that's the thing, and that's why I did, you know, that's why I felt like in a way, you know, they really did. I feel like they were trying to give us something different, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
I could see the attempt.
Yeah.
Because I could tell a real throwaway movie. I don't think this was it, because there was a lot of obviously Sam Raimi style to it, you know. But you know, at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, when you have that much time to make a movie, you know what I mean. Like, something good has to come out of it, especially when something like this. And seeing that his different, you know, Doctor Strangers and stuff, you know, especially when Professor X gives him that second chance, I thought that was such like a great like Professor X moment, like for him, because it's like that is such a Professor X move. Like, really giving you that second chance, believing in you. Like, you know what? I know you messed up, son, but I'm going to give you a second chance. And Doctor Strange was like, thank you. Because now he's starting to reveal that him improving in his life is giving him the chances he needs to better himself and save the fucking universe and become probably like the greatest hero in this saga.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of my favorite parts of the movie that I keep thinking about. I thought that moment was very, like, the way I get excited seeing, like, your old favorite hero talking to a new generation, you know, you're like, holy crap, you're Professor X, and the fact that you're the real Professor X giving this Strange, you're inspiring him to be the Strange he's meant to be, or he's pretty much giving him like, hey man, the other Strange fucked up, and maybe you're the hero, maybe you're the one that, as you're saying, is going to save the universe. And just that got me excited. I remember that was one of the best parts of the movie. Just that little moment was just so, like, powerful. The way we saw Toby and the classics in No Way Home was almost that, to me, was that level of like, okay, that's where the nostalgia really got me there. Seeing that, you know, him influencing, you know, the new hero of the MCU, you know,
and that's
phase, you know.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why, like, even with that said, that's a great point, because even Professor X, the way he said it, kind of would sound like you would hear it from the animated series. It's just the way the dialogue was. The way the dialogue was, like, just because someone stumbles their way doesn't mean they're lost forever. It just sounded like an intro to a comic cartoon episode. You know what I mean?
And it's just
you
crazy.
Get what I'm saying?
He is that version, though.
That's what I'm saying. He is that version, but he gets fucking wrecked. You know? I know. But you know, but there is some good things, and I think that was great. And I like how he said thank you. And I was just like, and I really liked how just a really quick, cool, fun moment is when Professor X uses his telepathic abilities on him. I was like, dang, we're finally having Professor X communicate telepathically with Doctor Strange of the MCU. You know?
And I think that right there, as what we were saying earlier, that's the big hint for the future. The fact that they brought back, they revived a 90s variant into live action. They put that cartoon version onto screen. It's like, what the fuck? And the fact that they announced as X-Men 97 coming back this year, that's also crucial. I think that's going to be canon to MCU, dude. I think there's...
Well, yeah, because they were planning on that. Because remember What If, they were trying to do that, and they wanted to. And that's why when we were talking about it, they're infusing it. And when we were talking about it, I was like, and when we were talking, because you knew more than I did, and I was just like, okay. And when you were teasing me on this like Professor X thing, I was like, okay, I already saw the tease, like him in the 97, so I already know. Once I saw the yellow in his green suit, I was like, he's from the 97. They wouldn't just have another Professor X look like that just to throw it in. Now that's really giving fans what they want. But this was actually the 97 one, and I saw that, and I was like, holy shit, like this is the 97, and he joined the Illuminati in the light, and that's him. Holy shit, you know, like, but that's the thing is that
theme song too,
and they played and the theme song, like we mentioned earlier, the theme song came through.
it's just crazy that so if we see Wolverine, we might see that classic spandex one, but the live action MCU version of what that could look like.
Yeah.
Or Gambit, they're all gonna like the cartoons. Imagine that. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, because
this is giving it away.
Yeah, because and that's the thing is like it's awesome with everything like that, and with the X-Men, it's like seeing the cartoon version come into play. You know what I mean? And all that, and it's pretty cool.
It's interesting, and I think that's a possible hint. That's why I actually will watch that continuation. I'll see what the fuck that's gonna have in store. You never know if there's gonna be Easter eggs in that show,
right? Or
probably connections to that. What happened to that Professor X of how he got there? To the Illuminati.
Exactly. Right. That's what I'm saying. We'll see how he does that. I think the X-Men 97 series, we'll see what happens to him. Is this before he joins the Illuminati? Which may be, really, because he can't just be gone from the series, Maybe this is his journey before he joins the actual multiverse, and then maybe the ending of that series, that season, will be him entering that Illuminati and meeting them, and him entering that scene. Because, I mean, where can you go after that? He's not just dead, right? Like, the show's probably going to take place... It takes place right after the original show ended. So he's not obviously dead. So I think it's going to lead up to this moment, maybe, where it is the live action. You know what I mean?
Imagine that, like, the ending is him in cartoon form going through a portal, then it's just Patrick Stewart, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How did I get here?
I know. That would be crazy. And because maybe something happens with that, That would be fucking nuts, but...
I want to know more about that, and then I know we'll get more into it, but, in terms of, I don't know, knowledge on the storyline of the Illuminati, but just the way that just came about, it's just very, wow, interesting. This is how it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to play out. Is there more that they could have done? I know we've talked already a little bit on that, but...
Look, I was just hoping that, if we're going to see any other X-Men, I was just hoping for my favorite one to come through, Gambit. That would have been tight. That would have been sick, dude, if he came through. But I think it was fucking awesome that that if we do see that, we do have more luck for that. Because I'm thinking about Secret Wars right now, that big rumor that's going to be the big thing, which it is.
Oh, and I keep hearing that the Russos may direct that, and then I guess now the words are floating about Midnight Suns that Raimi might direct that too. So I think our future is still looking bright.
That's going to be freaking crazy.
The future's looking bright.
It is. That's what I'm saying. That's why I respect this film, and that's why I don't give it too much shit, because they did try something totally different, They wanted to give you that horror aspect, and I felt it throughout this film. I felt that classic 70s horror film style, and I know that's his style, obviously, but to bring that in another genre to the MCU, when do you see something fresh like that? That's why I think the movie is in a certain way. I understand the writing and the jumps, but I can understand and respect it more because of that reason that they did do that, and that's why which is great, which I know we talked about. But to jump back with not getting too off topic here to the Illuminati, I was happy to see Black Bolt, because Black Bolt was that guy that was just like, he was in the Inhumans show, but it was like, okay, I didn't watch it. I heard it sucked. From what I heard, so I did. I even heard Comic I heard it sucked.
I had no idea who the fuck.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, I know who. I even in the theater, I was like, "Oh, Black Bolt," because so he actually got his powers from as a boy. He was introduced to some mists, so it made his voice like that. So he killed his parents because of that. So he fucking disintegrated us. So it was cool seeing him, because we finally got a new character of the MCU in a classic costume. Like, it looked like a costume that was just like, it looked cool, It kind of reminded me of like the shows, like, the other kind of cosmetics they're using for like the boys. You know what I mean? It kind of had that kind of like that style to his costume only.
That's what people are saying too.
Yeah, it kind of had that kind of look to him, and I was like, he looks cool, even though he's from Marvel.
Yeah.
He has that look already. He just looked pretty damn good. And I did like how they used his voice and his powers against Strange when they disintegrated their Strange. With I'm sorry, and because that's how his powers are. Because he can level the moon with just a whisper, and that's why he trains himself in remaining calm to not make noise, or he would kill everybody. Yeah. So that's why I thought that was great that Black Bolt was in there, because it's awesome to see a brand new character in the MCU that people are not familiar with, which means that, like, to jump off that idea of like hints for the future, I think great to see that. And that would be really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think it was great seeing that. And Captain Marvel was cool, but I did like her silver costume. I like silver so much. Her silver was better than the red and blue.
Yeah.
Captain Carter, we got to talk about that.
Gorgeous.
She was gorgeous, badass, sexy.
Aww.
Haley Atwell, you look beautiful at the premiere. You look amazing. Jesus Christ. But anyways, guys, sorry about that. But anyways, so she was really good, She played a really good role as the Illuminati member, but I just can't get over it. She got chopped in half. And you actually saw it in the blur. Like, it happened fast, but you do see a little bit of the body offset, like it was about to literally fall into two pieces. And you do get a zoom in on it again when she's fighting Captain Marvel after she kills Captain Carter. You see her body laying there, but it looks like it's in one piece, but they gave you that angle like like it is, but it's not.
I have to look out for that.
Yeah. So you see the blood from the shield, so it went through her. So she's chopped in half, which is great because I wonder if Raimi came up with that too. You know what I mean? Which is great. So I think it was cool seeing them. You know what I mean? I thought they got disposed of really nicely. I thought it was great seeing violent MCU. It was awesome. You know what I mean? And coming from a comic fan, it did remind me because people got to understand that the comics are not really for kids out most of the time. You know what I mean? They're there, yeah, but do you understand what happens in these things? Like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, come on, man. There's so much like gore in there, even in Spider-Man. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, you see that shit. And that's what's cool because I feel like it really brought that superhero realism. Like, these powers really fuck people up. You know what I mean? And I really like that they did have that feel to it when she was killing off even Mr. Fantastic, how she kind of stretched him out. I thought that was one pretty clever thing to stretch him out, kind of like show his power, and then she splits him into spaghetti, and blows off his fucking head, which was awesome, which I thought there'd be a little bit more gore, but I didn't come to find out it was just her little red magic in a way. But I have to admit, I thought it was great, bro. But the next thing which leads me into that whole scene with the Illuminati which is probably one of my favorite scenes, which I wanted to really dwell on, was the hand-to-hand scene between Mordo and Benedict Cumberbatch, Chiwetel. It was like such a refresher. But before I wanted to get into that, I just wanted to hear, dude, like, what did you think? Because we were in the same theater together when you saw the Illuminati. I know, everything. How did you feel about seeing them? Because I don't think they even confirmed that Captain Carter was from What If. I think she might be a different one.
That's what I keep hearing, and I think no, it was fun, a fun surprise. Well, I don't want to say nothing, but anonymous sources has leaked things, and I've heard things about some things that will happen. I didn't want to believe those things, but the fact that wow. Like things actually happened, they actually wow, we actually got to see these cameos, which I try to avoid those things, but they keep coming at you, these leaks, these reports, and it's crazy how they revealed it in those TV spots. Like, if I didn't see any of that or heard of that, I think I would have been a lot more surprised and I wish I did not know anything. Now. Yeah, and it goes for all these movies. I wish I didn't know anything. When I see the spoilers, I get pissed off. Yeah, but that one, I was like, man, that's cool. The fact that you've confirmed a big fan casting with John Krasinski there. That was unexpected to hear about. He's going to be in the movie. What the fuck? Yeah. It was cool, and like I said, because I haven't read the Illuminati comics, so I don't know if that. I know some of them are part of it, but I just don't know what story wise. So I was just going with what this movie is. So they entered this Illuminati scene, and they're questioning this Doctor Strange. It's a cool setup. The vibe is cool. And I have to agree, other than what we've talked about, them getting killed and the fact that there was that pretty cool fight scene, with Mordo and Strange, and that stuff's cool. That show was cool actually.
It was just it was refreshing to see, and I felt and that had to be a Sam Raimi thing for sure, because he loves the practicality, which I loved in this film as well. I could tell they tried to do as much practicality as possible when they could. But I know he was very excited to use the technology they had. But you could tell he was trying to do a great mixture of it, which I thought it turned out great. Right. But to get back to the fight scene, guys, I mean, to see that, especially when he jumps down to fight him, and then he's about to slice him, and then he just blocks it, and then Benedict goes for that little leg sweep. It was awesome, and seeing him, no special effects except for the magic. You know what I mean? And the wrist things. That was it. And when he jumps down and they go into that 2-on-2. this is where I'm gonna go off because this is where I was like, oh my god, this is great. Like it's just a good break to see so much from all the modern technology to go back to practicality and how real action choreography is, which is straight, just practical, two actors going at it. And I love the music with it. It sounded really like temple-like, but the way they fell into that hallway kind of reminded me of a fighting game. They were like in a 2D environment in a way, you know what I mean? They couldn't go this way or that way. They had to just keep going like back or forward, you know what I mean? And just to see the moves that they had, I thought it was really cool seeing some of that basic martial arts, that they do, because that's what Strange does as well, and that's what Kamatage is. It's not just a spell play, but it's a martial arts, he knows how to fight too. And to see him going at it, like with Chiwetel Mordo, I was like, holy shit. I was like, that was so cool, especially the throw and then the blocks, nothing. It was just really refreshing to see. And coming from a guy who loves action and fight choreography and done some fighting, which I believe I mentioned earlier, it's amazing to see. You know what I mean? I was very happy, and I have to admit that has to be one of my favorite top 3 scenes in that movie, just because of that reason. It was great to see that hand-to-hand scene, especially with Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? You would think he would make him mostly completely just spell magic and then doing crazy stuff and maybe doing more like that. But when it came to hand, wow. We saw No Way Home, right. but that was because that's how Sam Raimi did it. And John Watts was paying homage to that. You know what I mean? The practicality of the Sam Raimi films. So that, you can tell, is him all the way. And I guess I got to say thank you for that, because it was really nice to see that. And I was very excited. And I was actually, the correct word for it is I was relieved, I was happy, and I was joyful to see that fight scene. Even though it was very short, guys, I know maybe to a lot of you or others it may seem small, but to me it was nice to see a scene like that, in this time of the MCU and technology, where we're seeing so much CGI and special effects. It was beautiful to see, especially with Strange going at it. Awesome, loved it. Loved the moves. Choreography was smooth. It was a good scene. It was a great scene.
Yeah, and surprisingly, like I didn't expect to see a combat scene, so that was a nice surprise in the film.
Yeah, it was. I'm very happy about that.
That was so cool, and also, during that moment, even having Scarlet Witch just tore people apart, there was also like classic Raimi horror there too,
Yeah.
Almost like it's paying homage to Carrie. She looks like Carrie, like just destroying the place, all the blood over her.
That's true. That's very. I've heard some people say that too. That she kind of had that Carrie vibe, and I saw it a lot from people. Some people commented, and I was like, that is true, And she did have that because of the outfit and the blood on her, just like, even though it was antifreeze.
Yeah,
but
it was just super cool.
But yeah, it was just really cool. And sorry guys, we had almost a crazy thing right there. They're down the road, so we thought something exploded. But no, yeah. But I think that's great. Yeah, I think it was awesome for sure, dude. Agreed.
And then on to this, kind of, we can talk all day. There's so much good stuff.
I know.
But the big topic here too on that scene, the Illuminati scene, like, what do you think was the decision to just kill off all these characters just to show that they're variants? The fact that like, oh, they're dead, but hey, that's just one version. They're gonna come back, like, because I know that people are a little pissed off with that too, with killing off Professor X, Reed Richards. I've heard people just like really like, no, I don't know about that. I've heard people so iffy about that.
The long-term negative effect I see happening is that now they're getting too comfortable using the multiverse as an excuse to just perform certain things. Mm-hmm. That's what I see as the long-term effect, negative effect that this will have on fans and people stirring away from the MCU. Yeah. Is when you start relying on something too much.
Yeah.
Everybody has their end. And MCU obviously will have its end. Yeah. And if it's now, I don't think it's now. I really don't. I think we still got another 10 years of this shit. Yeah, at least another 10 years, at least. Maybe at most, maybe. But there's too much to see still. And they have too much planned already. And anyways, but I think that would be the long-term effect. Mm-hmm. And that's true. I get that. Like, why have the Illuminati then if you're just going to have them as a cameo? Like, what was the point of them coming in? Like, really? If it's a multiverse of madness, it would make more sense to have more cameos, And it's kind of funny because that's one thing I did like about this film, too, is that it didn't rely on cameos to try to do something different or to better itself as a film.
Right.
And that's what I love about this. And that's, I think, where I think it shines, because that's even look at what we're already talking about, cameos and shit. You know what I mean? And that's what I liked about this one. That's why I left satisfied the first time I saw it, and I still feel like that, because I was like, you know what? Yeah, we didn't get Tom Cruise, which was our most anticipated. We kept fucking talking about that before we heard things. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god, we were just totally hoping he would be Superior Iron Man. It would have just been so awesome. You know what I mean? But that's one thing I can say that I know is a negative for a lot, and I can say in a way for me too, because it was like we talked about before, those missed opportunities with other multiverses they could have jumped into. But I think that I may have to sort of agree with that. Like, I mean, it makes sense because it's like, what was the theme of that? You know what I mean? Of having what was the real theme of the Illuminati in there?
Right.
So, and that's what was the thing, is that I never thought of it that way, really. I think maybe because we're so used to seeing people being in other people's films now. But it's killing off the X-Men 97 version, if they do say that is the true one, which I think it is, because why would they do that? That I can understand. Why would they kill him so fast? You know what I mean? Because I would be, you would think that he would be the one to survive. You know what I mean? Like, kind of control Wanda and something happens, Yeah. Maybe leave it on a cliffhanger. You don't know what happens, Maybe maybe Scarlet Witch snaps out of it and she's back in the temple and you don't see what happened to the other Wanda, and that's how it shows you, okay, Professor X probably did it. He probably stopped her. And now she has to find them again in another universe. That would have been cool. So leave Professor X alive, so okay, X-Men 97, we're good. We can keep him. He can be the MCU Professor X, the X-Men 97 version.
Yeah, you come into that Earth.
Yeah, in that Earth, and then Wanda would have been pissed, been like, oh, she tries to get back into that universe, but he blocked her from it. Then that's when she's forced to go jump in another universe, which that's when Doctor Strange is in another one already, and she finds him, and then that's when we see more. Which I know we already said that, but that would be the long-term effect, dude. I would say that. Right now talking about it, and even then thinking about it anyways before this, I kind of wish there were some other things we saw in there. I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping for more cameos. Like, okay, I know everyone's saying that, and I know that doesn't what makes a movie. Trust me, it doesn't.
Right.
But I'm just being honest here, guys. When it comes to the title, The Multiverse of Madness, and the hype for it and the way they were marketing it and having MCU deliver every time we see their trailers, us having faith in them that they were going to do the same with Multiverse of Madness, I can understand why the ones listening here are pissed off.
Yeah.
I understand that. That I completely understand. I do get that. Because I trust me, and Vista here too, we wish there was at least one or two more cameos that we would have loved to have seen. And I know one of our favorite ones. We even heard that Thomas Jane was supposed to be in this one as Punisher. That was the smallest rumor I saw going around for the longest time. And but imagine if we did just get like Tom Cruise as Iron Man, and then we get like who else would have been in one that you mentioned? Ghost Rider. Let's say Nicolas Cage did come through, And it's kind of weird because Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage had two movies coming out in the same month here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we thought that was like signs like, okay, they really are getting roles, so they must be in Multiverse of Madness. And unfortunately, they weren't. Yeah. But I even heard rumors too that Tom Cruise was supposed to be a secret villain, possibly. That was a rumor. Obviously, that's not true anymore, but we're just jumping off things here.
Well, yeah, I mean, the writer at least confirmed that they had it in mind to bring Tom Cruise. I guess they just said, scheduling was not going to work out.
So whoever was at that meeting said something to somebody and said, weed this out, and then say, hey, just say, yeah, and they took it the wrong way, or just use it as an opportunity to cause havoc on the internet. So it had to be obviously someone from that meeting. Well, obviously it is, but yeah, and I was actually, my most excited, I was really hoping for Tom Cruise, man. I really wanted to see him in that Superior Iron Man, because he looked good. There was some I thought were behind the scenes shots of actually Doctor Strange of Multiverse of Madness, and he had this Tony Stark look with the short hair, and I was like, whoa, he looks good, I was like, imagine seeing him come out, but I kind of back in my mind knew that was Captain Marvel, but anyway, yeah, dude, it's I'm hoping they maybe find a way to maybe make these cameos more meaningful, and coming from a different perspective, let's give him more epic entrances. Okay, let's get the people like old school excited again. Don't just have him show up in like little seats. Get John Krasinski to jump in a fight scene out of nowhere and stop it. You know what I mean? And be like, oh shit, Reed is joining the fight. Like that kind of thing. And then you just see action happening and talk about energy after that. Imagine you see a cameo and then it just leads to a straight fight scene like right after. Like that'd be great. But yeah, I mean that's my thoughts on your question. But I mean. yeah, I mean, let's just hope they don't rely on things that are working for them pretty good right now, and use that to advantage and play it safe.
Right.
Right.
So this goes to what, like, one of the questions we have here. Like, I mean, we already talked most of this, but like, how accurate do you think like the source material is, like the comics to the film? Like, they obviously they mixed it up here, as with these MCU things have been doing, which I don't think it's a bad thing. But your take as a comic book guy, like obviously you already talked most of these things, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on like, those decisions they did with these characters, or things they switched up.
Well, one thing I did like is that, well, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know too much on Strange, but I think most recently I found out the most I could have, because he is badass, and I know who he was back in the day, because I used to have the figure of him from the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s, because he was part of one of the waves, and Doctor Strange was always dope, but from some of the stuff I read, excuse me, or seen, it just seems like, supposedly from them always mentioning Nightmare, that's an actual villain. So Nightmare really is a villain to Doctor Strange because he enters dream dimensions. So he's the Dark Lord of Dreams. So in the trailers, they were obviously mentioning a lot about dreams and nightmares. So a lot of people also thought that Nightmare was going to be in this as a secret villain. They weren't just showing him yet. He was just going to be a surprise, and he was going to be a main villain that was going to be the one fucking with his dreams and everything. So I thought that's where they were going if there was going to be a Nightmare. But that villain, I think they were doing a lot of references to him in the movie, and you didn't really see much of him. But it did have the dream walking. It did have the dream instances like that, where, you're in nightmares and you're having these bad dreams. But they mixed in the multiverse concept, I believe, with the dream portion of things. I'm not sure if that's really staying true to what's, but coming from what I know of Doctor Strange, it kind of seems like they tried their best, into showing his powers, but also trying to, like, how do I put it, like show him how powerful he is to enter these multiverses, and then just get the job done, because he's cool, but he's had trouble, dude. He had to renounce Sorcerer Supreme. He's done that already before. Like, that's one reference to the comics too, when they reference, like, when John Krasinski tells him, "Hey, your variant called us in to tell us that you've been dreamwalking." So that's in the comics too, where he kind of puts everyone aside and confesses that he's been dealing with dark magic and the Darkhold, and he renounces himself as Sorcerer Supreme, and he goes on a journey to find himself as Sorcerer. He becomes back as Sorcerer Supreme, of course, again, but he releases the mantle because he was using dark magic. And he called everyone together, say, "Hey, I've been doing this, so I have to renounce my title." Because you can't do that when you're Sorcerer Supreme. You can't work with the dark arts like that. You know what I mean? He knows how to do it, obviously, but in this film, it made sense for him to do that, which I thought was a great way how they used Zombie. How they used him as like an avatar. You know what I mean? To kind of like, not like the movie, obviously, but just kind of like that. It was cool how they did it. But I think with Clea is the next thing, because Clea is Doctor Strange's wife. She's the one that has stick with him until now. Because right now, currently in the comics, just a few months ago, Doctor Strange died. So right now, in the current main storyline, Doctor Strange is dead right now. Clea, which is Charlize Theron, which you saw in the end of the credit scene, is his wife. And she is the Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimensions. So her master is Dormammu. So we might see Dormammu again in Doctor Strange 3. But she falls for Steven. So when Clea falls for Steven, Dormammu doesn't like that, so he tries to break that bond. But she betrays him for Doctor Strange, and they stay together forever. Like, that's his real main love. They've had their issue, but they, main love. I don't know details regarding their relationship issues, but I know, they've been together forever. So right now in the comics, she is the new Doctor Strange, and she took the mantle of Strange, and he disappeared in front of her. So right now, Clea is the new, pretty much the new Sorcerer Supreme right now. So, but she betrayed Dormammu for Doctor Strange. So, but she came in pretty quick here. So she says she caused an incursion. So it looks like we're going to see some more cameos in the third one. Because she says you caused an incursion, which means two universes are colliding. What two universes? So Doctor Strange 3 might be the one where we might see some of the missing cameos we were supposed to get in here.
Maybe the X-Men.
Maybe the X-Men might come in
colliding.
Here. Yeah, maybe, and it's colliding. And maybe that's where the concept of the Avengers and the X-Men come in. where that concept of that storyline, because there is a story where the Avengers do face the X-Men. And I think I saw something recently too of someone mentioning that a comic. I think they were just talking about comics or something. I forgot. Maybe even about the MCU where it's going. But I think if they do that, if they cause an incursion, it could be that, because that is a storyline. Avengers versus X-Men. We're dealing with the Earth 616. That's where the Avengers are here with us, right?
Yeah.
And then the X-Men. So we just proved that X-Men are real, but they're in different universes right now. So maybe those incursion that Doctor Strange did in this one, maybe is where we'll see the other cameos we haven't seen before. Like maybe that. Maybe we will see our heroes against the X-Men. You know, maybe we'll see other universes, like maybe the 2099 universe. And maybe I can see my boy Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. You know what I mean? And we could get a new Spider-Man in there. You know what I mean? Looks badass. That'd be sick. But that's where Clea is going to come in and help him. And maybe Dormammu is going to be there too. Because when she cuts it open, you saw the dark dimension in the background. So what does that tell you? So she's cool. She's not going to be a villain. If the MCU doesn't change anything, she's going to stay a good person. So she's on our side. That I can tell you.
It was just mind-blowing that it was Charlize Theron. I was like, wow.
Yeah, and I heard that. I heard rumors that she was supposed to be in here. And she was, I heard rumors that she was supposed to be in here, and she was one of the more truer cameos that appeared besides the Illuminati was her.
Yeah.
So she was, so it looks like she came true. So she is Clea. So she's going to have a really big role in the next one.
From what you're saying is true. That sounds great.
It does, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
And then Doctor Strange, they're going to partner up. So now you have his new love interest. And even the writers said they're closing the book on Christine. So no more Rachel McAdams.
Which is good.
So, which is good. And they did that quick. So that's fine. She's done for. That's why we didn't see her in the end of Multiverse of Madness. Because that pretty much proved that we're no more of her. That's it.
Yep.
You know,
he
already
dropped the first movie up pretty much.
He already proved himself to the other Rachel. You know, so that pretty much is the same thing, technically. You know, she did lose her Supreme Strange. Because they're calling that blue Strange Supreme Strange. From Earth 838 Strange is Supreme Strange. Well, the Darkhold, you can tell. It is the bad one. I do love his costume. He's my favorite one. He has the blue, like the silver armor and the blue cape. That it was cool seeing Krasinski hold the cloak. That was awesome seeing the cloak. But
Thanos dead there too.
Yeah, stabbed, like how they got it. You know, it was kind of funny because like I don't think all five of them would have done it. Like why is Professor X still in the suit there and on Titan? Right. He would be back on Earth 616 or Earth 838, and then and that's where you could have had maybe other cameos in that scene. Maybe maybe Hugh Jackman could have been standing next to Xavier. You know what I mean? And maybe he could have been like this holding, when they kill Strange. That would have been fucking rad. That would have been a cool cameo. Maybe little things like that. Maybe that would have been a good excuse. Mm-hmm. Anyways, guys. But that's where it's going. And I think in the comics, if they kill off Doctor Strange like they did with Iron Man, then she's going to take over. Especially with a lot of things going on with female characters right now. You know what I mean? We may get that. So Doctor Strange, in the moment, guys, I don't know. Maybe we'll be the first ones to call it here. He may die in the future. Maybe that's what they're planning for Doctor Strange, Complete his arc this time. His arc was the Multiverse saga. You know what I mean? Maybe. You never know. And but we'll see what happens. I think the next one's going to be good. And I do believe, yes, guys, that we are going to see more cameos in Doctor Strange 3. Because we are dealing with an incursion, and we're going to be dealing with two different universes colliding. And all we do is have to find out which ones they are.
Do you think Sam Raimi's going to come back for the third one?
Well, supposedly I did read on a news page for this, that he is coming back for Doctor Strange 3. They did get him. And so if he is coming back, then he's going to learn a lot, you know what I mean? Obviously, because it's going to be like his Spider-Man 2 maybe, you know what I mean? Where he improves supposedly a lot, even though I know our favorite is still the first one. But you know what I mean? Like he may learn, okay, we did this with I don't have to deal with so many universes now. Yeah. I got my foot in the water with the MCU. I did what they wanted to get their toes in the horror film. Mm-hmm. Now we're completely in it. Because they're having the Werewolf by Night for the Halloween special. Mm-hmm. And that's got Gael Garcia Bernal's back. And I don't know if we mentioned this already, but that's where they're going to tie in Moon Knight. And we'll most likely see Oscar Isaac on that Halloween special. And that's where we're going to see our taste of the Midnight Suns. Surprisingly, where Sam Raimi's releasing his first film in 2022 with Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange is part of the Midnight Suns as well, guys. So Benedict Cumberbatch might be in some badass film, which I wanted to say also to jump off of one thing, guys, as well. I do want to jump off what we're talking about here. But I really do want to say that this film, Sam Raimi on the directing part and the filmmaking aspect, I love how he brought in, from a comic fan, that the 90s grunge feel of this film. I felt like I was watching like a 90s Todd McFarlane comic book almost. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of felt like that. You know, it kind of felt like the early, like, the 90s to the mid-90s, like, Marvel comics where it was grungy. You know what I mean? You had this crazy style, the crazy, you know, shit happening. You had these new crazy characters coming out. Carnage came out, you know. You have all these crazy things coming out, and it made me feel like it was like the grunge era. You know what I mean? And I really thought that was amazing. But yeah, bro, I would say that would be one thing I did want to add on to that. But in terms of the comic aspect, I think we're going to be seeing some really cool shit still with Doctor Strange, guys. So don't lose hope in this shit. We're going to see Doctor Strange 3 is going to be badass. Watch. We're going to see Clea and team up. Oh, man. That's going to be insane. And hopefully we get Mephisto finally.
Yeah, no, I keep hearing that people want him, so we shall see, man. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going wherever this is taking me. I have no idea. Like, I know we just talked about what the possible events, but we just gotta wait and see.
That's all we can do, and that's what it is. And the next one is Thor: Love and Thunder, which you'll see us on that one too, guys. We're gonna have a few maybe filler. We want to come up with, see what we can come up with for you guys to entertain you guys in the meantime, you know, with other things, but. And other podcasts revolving around other stuff, around comics. But what else do we have? I mean, damn, this movie was a lot. I mean, it was so much. But I mean,
we delved into everything, right?
Yeah.
Other than the screenplay, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the movie. It's fun. It's you know, like that energy I miss from Sam Raimi. It's glad to see him back.
Yeah,
directing a big blockbuster. I hope he does another low budget horror movie soon. I hope he has that momentum again to make movies.
Yep.
You know, but yeah, no, I had fun with it, and for those who didn't have fun with it, I'm sorry. Maybe next time, just go open minded now. Just don't look into things anymore. Maybe that's a lesson for some people. I know that some people out there just are way too into it and just disappoint themselves so much when they delve so much into things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I agree. I think everyone, guys. I think now is the time. MCU's been around for a long time, so let's be careful because we might be stepping on frozen ice finally. You know what I mean? You know, just kidding. No, it's all good. We're pretty sure we're okay. Captain Marvel came out a couple years ago and that was bad, and the people loved it, but it wasn't really that good. So, if MCU can still make badass shit after that, come on now. But I have to say this. So since you gave your final thoughts on that. I have to say my final thoughts. I still love the film because of all the positives we talked about, with everything, like the practical fight scenes, how they steered away from just trying, instead of relying on hype on cameos and actors, just try to really go for like a horror, like just a real storyline, just to, kind of make it entertaining besides cameos, which maybe I can understand why they didn't have more. So I respect that for this film for that a lot, and I respect Raimi for doing that. And I just love how they pushed the PG-13 rating. I liked the horror aspect. I thought they did a great job for characters, like the Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange, which deal with that. I still think they nailed it. They could have picked a better director, to really shed light on that kind of film, especially Doctor Strange. So I gotta say, guys, really love it. Of course, the gripes on it. Possibly, just the stuff we went over already, some of the fillers, maybe that we were mentioning, the quick jumps and maybe some of the things we had to maybe fill in with our imagination. I can get that. But other than that, I still think there's hope. If Sam Raimi's directing the third one, we got Clea. We're going to be getting new incursions. We're coming for the multiverse again. We're going to be back, and Doctor Strange is going to be back because he will return. And we also have to talk about, too, which we ended off. I guess we got to talk about some after credits here. Mr. Campbell.
Yep, another ingredient to the Sam Raimi movie, formula. You got to have Bruce Campbell every Sam Raimi movie. You got to have him and the Ash card. That's in every fucking Sam Raimi movie. Which for those out there, hope you caught it out there. The part where they go to the evil Strange universe where things are floating. When you see Strange and Christine walking on the streets, I forgot it was the first shot when they look forward there. You could see the Ash car floating right in front of them, and I was like, wait, that's the Evil Dead car. What the fuck? That's really cool. So Bruce Campbell making his cameo as this pizza ball guy in that universe.
Awesome. I know we talked about this before, guys. Trust me, we have a lot of pre-talks too, because obviously, but we kind of thought he would actually have a bigger role as well. We thought with the way that things were going with this movie, the way they were doing it and marketing it, and the way even they were hyping it up, we thought actually I won't lie, I kind of thought that Bruce Campbell was going to have more of a role. You know, maybe he was going to play a multiverse hero, a villain, or some kind of guy from somewhere. You know, maybe even Ash himself. You know, I mean, it would have made total sense with Zombie Strange. You know what I mean? What happens if they did not do the dreamwalking thing and he just came alive? Let's say that Doctor Strange teamed up with Scarlet Witch and he loved the dark arts and he turned into a zombie because he just loves power so much. And then Ash comes through. Imagine as a cameo. That'd be fucking crazy. People thought, even I thought, he was going to come in as Ash or something. Because it's the multiverse and it's a horror Marvel film, you would think that he would come through. And he has to deal with the Darkhold. He deals with the Book of the Dead. He's the one that started and unfortunately helped start the Marvel Zombies. Because he was in that storyline. Ash is canon in the Marvel Zombies, in the Marvel Comics, especially in the Marvel Zombie storyline. So I thought they were going to do a really cool reference there. So as a fan, they had a really missed opportunity there. They should have brought him in as Ash, so they could have referenced Marvel Zombies in the comics, because that's what happens. And he dies by Howard the Duck, by the way. He gets his head eaten.
That's fun.
But they do find another Ash that helps him, I think. So multiverse style. So see, you had a lot of cool opportunities, I believe, were missed, especially with our dear boy, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, and again, that right there also just teaches me, you know, next time they bring up cool cameos, just don't look. At least me personally, I'm not gonna look into it anymore because you theorize all these better things, just things that are better, then you just end up like, oh, that's stupid.
Yep.
But no, I like seeing him, and I get it. He's not getting any younger, so it's fun just having him just like that little more like back to his classic Three Stooges humor with his Ash character a little bit. There's a bit of that Army of Darkness humor.
Yep.
There.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. And I know people are like, that was a waste of time seeing it, but for us movie fans, that's a gem. That's Bruce Campbell, right?
Yeah.
That's the treat. And I have to admit, that's like the trophy for staying at the end is just seeing him punching himself and just saying the movie's over. That's
and
so
I love
fun.
that. And what movies really? I know there's a lot of movies that have done almost everything these days, but when do you really get that feeling? Where do you get that old school feeling of? It just felt like, it felt like an old school retro film. Like a little Easter egg, just thrown into a modern film, and it made this film a lot more of that like that raw feel. Doctor, it made it. I really do feel like having that little cameo and say, "Hey, it's over," and the camera being zooming in the way it did. It gives this movie a little bit more rawness to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. A little bit more like garage. Boom, imph. I just like that. I know that sounds weird explanation, but I just like that. Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was great seeing him. And we got our Bruce Campbell, and it was awesome seeing a director like Sam Raimi bringing in everybody again. Kudos to Danny Elfman, and a big, awesome fucking, I have to admit, Kevin Feige for taking the risks to do this, you know what I mean? To where the direction they try to go with, the pushing that rating and everything. I have to admit, man, just keep going. We still got the next 10 years left, you know what I mean? So let's have faith, guys, because Doctor Strange is coming back. All right, any final thoughts?
Well, it crossed the $300 million mark in the U.S. today.
Oh, today crossed $1 million, $300 million mark. There you go.
$302 million domestically, worldwide $715 million. So it's got just a little bit to get to $1 billion.
Wow. So Doctor Strange, even with everything in its gripes and its positives, is about to hit $1 billion. That's fucking crazy. Well, yeah. That's awesome. It was expected because it was just a huge movie, and there are still a lot of people that do enjoy it. This movie a lot. They really do. And there we go, guys. Still successful, MCU's got nothing to worry about still.
I know.
There are another movie hitting the $1 billion mark, Yeah. So, but I feel like that's going to be more coming because Fantastic Four is going to make a shitload of money.
I think it's got legs too. It's got a whole summer.
It's got all that too.
It's not as much competition, and I feel like they're going to be the highest grossing ones still.
Of the
year, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
Unless I don't know. People are still crazy for Avatar, and the first one was still the highest grossing movie.
Yeah.
So do you think, I don't know.
Well, let's keep it with Doctor Strange. Let's keep it. I don't want to talk about that.
I know.
That'll be for another thing.
Speaking long term.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Because if we say, that was the highest grossing, then oh shit, we were wrong.
Well, yeah. Well, that's just right now. We're just talking about Strange here, guys. Just the film itself.
Because the trailer was right before Doctor Strange. So.
Yeah. It was a cool trailer. I actually.
Disney.
Yeah, I know. I actually enjoyed the trailer, fuckers. Anyways, but well, guys, we thank you again. We know this was a great podcast. There was a lot to cover, and we really did miss some things in the first one that we thought we'd bring into this one. But we started off with DC at the time, so we couldn't really talk about some things, which is obviously not a problem. So we just want to thank you guys again if you have been listening to the end of this. We know, again, we are just beginning here. We just appreciate anyone who's listening here. We thank you guys. We already love you guys for doing that. And thank you so much. And we hope you have a good night. And if you haven't seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness already, go fucking see it, alrighty? Alright? Because it was filmed for IMAX and it's actually dope on IMAX. Peace out, peeps. Vista and VHS Smuggler out.
It's over!